The night is still. The desert air has cooled, and the warmth of the day slowly slips away into the open sky. Above, the stars rest quietly, scattered across the darkness like soft grains of light. There is no hurry here. No noise. Only a gentle silence that stretches across the land. Far below those stars, the land of ancient Egypt lies calm and unmoving. The Nile flows slowly, as it always has, its waters dark and smooth under the moon. It does not rush. It does not change its path. It simply continues, steady and patient, as it has done for thousands of years. Along its banks, the earth is soft and dark. This is where life gathers. Small homes made of mud brick rest close together, their walls still holding the warmth of the sun. Palm trees stand nearby, their leaves barely shifting in the light night breeze. Inside these homes, people sleep. Their days are long, filled with simple work. Farming. Carrying water. Grinding grain. Quiet tasks repeated again and again, like the slow movement of the river itself. Now, as they rest, their breathing is calm and even. Somewhere in the distance, a faint sound of water touches the shore. And beyond the villages, beyond the fields, the desert begins. It stretches outward in all directions. Wide. Open. Endless. The sand holds the memory of the sun, though it is cooling now. The dunes rise and fall like soft waves, frozen in place. This land feels empty, but it is not. Beneath the sand, hidden from sight, lie the quiet remains of a world that once moved with purpose. A world of kings and workers, of careful hands and patient minds. And buried deep within that world are treasures. Not treasures in the way one might first imagine. Not only gold or shining stones, but objects touched by time. Things once held, used, and valued by people who lived long ago. Each one carries a story. A story that does not speak loudly. A story that waits. Long before these treasures were hidden, long before the sands covered them, there was a rhythm to life in Egypt. A slow and steady rhythm, guided by the river. Each year, the Nile would rise. The water would spill gently over its banks, covering the land in a thin layer of dark, rich soil. This was not seen as destruction. It was a gift. A quiet and expected gift that returned again and again. When the waters pulled back, the land was ready. Farmers would step into the soft ground, their feet sinking slightly into the earth. They carried simple tools made of wood and stone. Nothing sharp or fast. Just enough to guide the soil. They worked slowly. There was no need to rush. Seeds were placed carefully into the ground. Wheat. Barley. Flax. Each one pressed gently into the soil, covered, and left to rest. The sun would rise each morning, warm and steady. The days passed in a pattern so familiar that it needed no thought. Water. Soil. Sunlight. Growth. And as the plants rose from the earth, life continued in its quiet way. Children walked along the edges of the fields. Women prepared food near the homes, grinding grain into flour using flat stones. The soft, repeated motion created a rhythm of its own. Back and forth. Back and forth. In the distance, oxen pulled wooden plows through the soil. Their steps were slow and heavy, their breath steady. Nothing here was fast. Nothing needed to be. And above all of this, there was a feeling. A quiet understanding that life moved in cycles. That everything returned in time. This same feeling extended beyond the fields and into something deeper. Into belief. The people of ancient Egypt did not see the world as something separate from themselves. The river, the sky, the earth beneath their feet, these were not just surroundings. They were part of a greater balance. A balance that continued even after life ended. And so, when a person's life came to its quiet close, their story was not seen as finished. It simply moved into another place. This belief shaped everything. It shaped how they lived. And it shaped what they left behind. In a small workshop near the edge of a village, a craftsman sits quietly. The light from the doorway falls softly across his hands. He is working with a small piece of wood, smoothing its surface with slow and careful movements. Each motion is deliberate. There is no waste. No hurry. The object he shapes is simple. A small box. But it is made with care. Inside, it will hold something important. Something meant to remain, even when everything else fades. Nearby, another craftsman works with stone. The sound of his tools is soft and steady. Tap. Pause. Tap. Pause. He is shaping a figure. Not large. Not grand. But meaningful. These objects are not made for daily use. They are made for something else. Something quieter. Something lasting. As the days pass, more objects take form. Small jars. Carved figures. Pieces of jewelry made from simple materials, beads of stone, fragments of colored glass, bits of metal shaped by patient hands. Each one is placed aside carefully. Each one will be part of something greater. Beyond the village, closer to the edge of the desert, a structure begins to rise. At first, it is only a marked space on the ground. Workers gather, carrying tools and materials. They move in groups, their steps slow and steady. Stone blocks are brought in, one by one. Each block is heavy. Each movement requires effort. But the work continues, day after day. There is no shouting. No rush. Only the sound of stone meeting stone. The quiet coordination of many hands working together. This place is not a home. It is not meant for the living. It is meant for what comes after. As the structure grows, its shape becomes clear. It is a tomb. Not a place of darkness, but a place of rest. Inside, the air is cool. The walls are smooth. Spaces are carefully prepared to hold the objects created in the village. The small box. The carved figure. The jars. The jewelry. Each item has a place. Each item has a purpose. They are not simply buried. They are arranged. Placed with care. Because they are meant to remain. And over time, as years pass and generations change, more tombs are built. Some are small. Some are larger. Some rise above the ground, visible against the desert sky. Others are hidden beneath the sand, their entrances carefully sealed. Inside them all, there are treasures. Quiet treasures. Objects that hold the memory of a life once lived. And as the desert winds move across the land, grain by grain, the surface begins to change. Sand shifts. Paths disappear. Structures soften at the edges. And slowly, very slowly, the world above begins to forget what lies below. But the treasures remain. They wait in the stillness. In the darkness. In the quiet embrace of the earth. They do not call out. They do not fade. They simply rest. And the Nile continues to flow. The stars continue to shine. And the land, as it always has, remains calm and unhurried. The night slowly gives way to morning. A soft, pale light begins to spread across the horizon. The stars fade gently, one by one, as the sky turns from deep blue to a lighter shade. The air is cool, and the land feels still, as if it is resting between breaths. Then, gradually, the first signs of movement return. A door opens. A figure steps outside, pausing for a moment in the early light. The ground beneath their feet is cool, and the faint scent of damp earth lingers from the river nearby. There is no rush to begin the day. Only a quiet awareness that it has begun. Along the banks of the Nile, the water reflects the soft colors of the sky. It moves in the same steady way, unchanged by the passing of time. A small boat drifts near the shore, its rope tied loosely to a wooden post. The surface of the river ripples gently as a light breeze passes over it. In the village, more doors open. The sounds are soft. Footsteps on packed earth. The quiet shifting of clay jars. The low murmur of voices, still heavy with sleep. A woman kneels near a flat stone, placing grains of wheat into a shallow hollow. She begins to grind them slowly, moving the upper stone back and forth with steady hands. The motion is familiar. Repeated many times before. It requires no thought. Back and forth. Back and forth. The sound is soft and rhythmic, blending into the stillness of the morning. Nearby, a child watches quietly, tracing lines in the dust with a small stick. The patterns appear and disappear, shaped by simple movements, leaving no lasting mark. Further away, in a shaded space beside a cluster of homes, a group of men prepare their tools. Wooden handles are checked. Stone edges are examined and smoothed. Each tool has been used many times, worn slightly by the work it has done. There is no conversation about what needs to be done. It is already understood. They begin to walk. The path they follow leads beyond the village, past the fields, toward the edge of the desert. The land changes slowly as they move. The soft soil gives way to firmer ground, then to sand that shifts slightly under each step. In the distance, the rising structure waits. It has grown since the days before. Stone upon stone, placed with care, forming a shape that stands quietly against the sky. It does not shine. It does not draw attention with brightness. Instead, it rests heavily in its place, as if it has always been there. The workers approach without haste. They take their places. Some lift ropes. Some guide wooden sledges. Others prepare the ground ahead, smoothing the path so that heavy stones can be moved with less resistance. Each movement is part of a pattern. A slow, steady coordination that has no need for urgency. A large stone block rests on a wooden sledge. Its surface is rough, its edges slightly uneven. It has been cut from the earth with patience, shaped just enough to serve its purpose. The workers gather around it. They lean forward together. The ropes tighten. And slowly, very slowly, the stone begins to move. The sound is low and constant. Wood against sand. The soft scrape of weight being guided forward. Feet press into the ground, leaving shallow marks that will soon fade. Step by step, the stone is brought closer to the structure. There is effort in the movement, but it is quiet effort. No sharp commands. No sudden motion. Only the steady application of strength over time. When the stone reaches its place, it is lifted carefully. Guided into position. Adjusted with small, precise movements. And then, it rests. Another piece added. Another part of something that will last far longer than the hands that placed it. Inside the structure, the air is cooler. The walls, made of thick stone, hold back the heat of the day. The light enters only in narrow beams, falling softly across the surfaces. Dust moves slowly through the air, visible only where the light touches it. A man kneels near the wall, holding a small tool. He presses it gently against the stone, carving shallow lines. The marks are careful and deliberate. Each symbol is formed with attention, shaped by hands that understand their meaning. These are not decorations. They are messages. Quiet expressions of belief, of memory, of hope for what lies beyond the visible world. The carving continues slowly. Line by line. Symbol by symbol. There is no need to finish quickly. What matters is that it is done well. In another part of the structure, objects begin to gather. A wooden chest, smooth and carefully shaped. A set of small jars, each sealed and placed upright. A necklace made of simple beads, its colors muted but still present. A carved figure, its form calm and still. Each item is brought in with care. Handled gently. Placed with intention. They are not arranged for display. They are arranged for meaning. Outside, the sun rises higher in the sky. The warmth returns, spreading across the land. The fields near the river begin to glow in soft shades of gold and green. The water reflects the light, shimmering gently but never harshly. Life continues its steady rhythm. A farmer bends to check the growth of his crops, running his fingers lightly through the leaves. He does not pull or rush. He observes. He waits. Nearby, another fills a clay jar with water from the river, lifting it carefully and balancing it against his shoulder. The weight is familiar. The path back to the village is known. In the distance, birds move slowly across the sky, their wings steady, their calls soft and spaced apart. Everything moves in a measured way. Everything follows its place. As the day passes, shadows shift. The work at the structure continues. Stone after stone. Movement after movement. Inside, the carvings grow. The objects increase. The space becomes more complete. And yet, nothing feels finished. Because there is always more time. There is always another day. As the sun begins to lower, the light softens again. The air cools slightly. The workers begin to step away from their tasks. Not suddenly. Not all at once. But gradually. One by one, they return along the same path they followed in the morning. Their footprints press into the sand, forming a quiet trail behind them. The structure remains. Still. Unmoving. Holding within it the work of many hands. And beneath it all, within its walls and hidden spaces, the treasures begin to take their place. Not as objects of display, but as companions. As pieces of a life carried forward into stillness. The evening deepens. The sky returns to its darker tones. The first stars begin to appear again, faint at first, then clearer as the light fades. The village grows quiet once more. Doors close. Fires dim. Voices soften and disappear. And across the land, the same calm returns. The Nile flows without pause. The desert holds its silence. And beneath the surface, unseen and undisturbed, the treasures rest. They do not change. They do not move. They remain exactly as they were placed. Waiting. Not for discovery. But simply existing, in the quiet, unbroken stillness of time. The night settles once more over the land. It arrives gently, without sharp edges, without sudden change. The last warmth of the sun fades from the stones, and the air becomes soft and cool again. The sky deepens into a wide, dark blue, and the stars return to their quiet places above. Nothing feels hurried. Nothing feels unfinished. Beyond the village, past the fields and the resting tools, the great stone structure stands in stillness. Its surface, touched by the fading light, now blends slowly into shadow. Its edges soften in the darkness, becoming part of the land itself. Inside, the air is calm. The walls hold a quiet coolness, untouched by the shifting temperatures outside. The silence within is deeper than the silence of the night above. It is a silence that does not move. A narrow passage leads inward. Its floor is smooth from careful shaping. Its walls carry faint markings, carved slowly over many days. Each line remains clear, each symbol resting exactly where it was placed. Further inside, the space opens. A chamber, wide and still, waits at the heart of the structure. Here, the treasures have been gathered. Not in piles. Not in disorder. But arranged with care, each one given its own place, its own quiet purpose. A wooden chest rests against the wall. Its surface is simple, but smooth to the touch. The grain of the wood runs in soft lines, shaped by tools that moved slowly and steadily. The lid is closed, but inside, it holds small items wrapped in linen. Objects of daily life. Things once used, once held, once known. Nearby, a row of jars stands upright. Their shapes are rounded and balanced. Their surfaces carry faint traces of color, patterns that were painted with careful hands. Each jar is sealed, preserving what was placed inside. Grain. Oil. Fragments of food meant to remain. Not for the living, but for what continues beyond. A small figure rests on a low stone surface. It is carved from a single piece of wood, its form quiet and still. The face is simple, the expression calm. The hands are placed gently along its sides, as if in rest. It is not large. It does not demand attention. But it holds meaning. In another part of the chamber, pieces of jewelry lie arranged in soft lines. Beads of stone, shaped and smoothed over time. Small fragments of colored glass, their surfaces catching even the faintest light. Thin pieces of metal, bent and formed into simple shapes. None of them shine brightly in the darkness. They do not need to. Their presence is enough. The air in the chamber does not shift. There is no wind here. No movement. Only stillness. And within that stillness, the treasures remain exactly as they were left. Above, the desert stretches quietly. The sand shifts slowly over time, moved by gentle winds that leave no lasting trace. The surface changes, but always in small, almost unnoticeable ways. A slight rise here. A soft dip there. Paths fade. Edges blur. And slowly, the entrance to the structure becomes less clear. Less visible. Until it is no longer seen at all. The land does not erase. It simply covers. Gently. Patiently. In the village, life continues without pause. Morning comes again, as it always does. The same soft light spreads across the sky. The same quiet sounds return. The people wake. They step into their day. They do not look toward the buried structure. They do not speak of what rests beneath the sand. Because for them, it is not lost. It is simply placed where it belongs. The rhythm of life continues. Water is drawn from the Nile. Grain is ground into flour. Bread is baked on flat stones, its surface warm and lightly crisp. The smell rises softly into the air, blending with the scent of earth and water. Children walk along the river's edge, their feet leaving small prints that fade as the ground shifts. Fishermen lower their nets into the water, waiting without impatience. The river gives what it gives, in its own time. Everything remains steady. Everything remains known. Seasons pass, though they do not arrive with force. The flooding of the Nile returns, covering the land in a thin layer of rich soil. The water spreads slowly, then withdraws, leaving behind what is needed. The fields respond. Green returns. Growth follows. And again, the cycle continues. Years move quietly. Generations shift. New hands take up the same work. The same tools are used. The same paths are walked. The same quiet understanding guides each movement. And beneath it all, beneath the changing footsteps and the soft turning of time, the chamber remains. Unseen. Untouched. The air inside does not age. The objects do not move. They remain as they were, held within the quiet care of the earth. Dust settles gently across surfaces, layer by layer, so fine that it feels almost like nothing at all. The carved lines on the walls remain clear. The shapes of the jars remain steady. The small figure rests exactly where it was placed. Time passes above. But here, it feels different. Slower. Softer. Almost still. Far from the chamber, beyond the village and the fields, the desert continues its quiet expansion. Its surface rises and falls in smooth curves, shaped by wind that never rushes. The sky above remains open and wide. Clouds pass rarely, and when they do, they drift slowly, casting faint shadows that move across the sand. There are no sharp changes here. Only gradual shifts. Only soft transitions. And as the years become many, the memory of what lies beneath fades gently from the surface world. Not suddenly. Not completely. But slowly, like a sound that grows quieter over time. Until it is no longer heard. The treasures remain. They do not call out. They do not seek to be found. They exist in stillness, held in place by the careful work of those who came before. And the land, in its quiet way, continues to hold them. The Nile flows. The stars return each night. The sand moves, grain by grain. And deep beneath it all, in rooms untouched by light, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt rest in silence. Morning comes again, as it always does. The light does not arrive all at once. It grows slowly, spreading across the horizon in soft layers. The sky shifts from dark to pale, and the land begins to reveal itself once more. The desert appears first as a gentle outline. Then the shapes become clearer. Low dunes, smooth and quiet. A wide stretch of sand that seems to rest without movement, though it is always, in some small way, changing. Closer to the river, the earth is darker. The Nile moves as it always has, steady and unbroken. Its surface reflects the growing light, turning from shadow to a muted glow. Along its edges, reeds stand in clusters, their thin leaves barely swaying. A bird lifts from the water, its wings opening slowly. It rises without urgency, moving across the sky in a quiet arc before settling again in the distance. The village begins to wake. There is no sudden start to the day. Only a gradual return to motion. A door opens. Another follows. Footsteps mark the ground again, soft and familiar. The same paths are taken, worn gently into the earth by years of walking. Hands reach for the same tools. Clay jars are lifted. Water is carried. Grain is prepared. Nothing feels new. And yet, nothing feels old. It simply continues. Beyond the village, the buried structure remains hidden beneath the sand. Its presence is no longer visible, but it has not changed. Beneath the surface, the chambers remain as they were. Still. Ordered. Quiet. The treasures inside do not shift with the passing of days. They do not fade in the darkness. They remain in a kind of gentle pause, untouched by the world above. A thin layer of dust settles more deeply over time. It gathers slowly, almost unnoticed, resting on the surfaces of jars, on the edges of carved lines, on the smooth top of the wooden chest. But even this change is soft. It does not disturb. It only adds to the stillness. Above, life continues in its steady rhythm. The fields near the Nile show signs of growth. Small green shoots rise from the soil, their forms delicate but certain. The farmers move among them, checking the ground with careful attention. They do not rush the process. They do not expect immediate change. They understand that growth comes quietly. That time moves in its own way. A man kneels near the edge of a field, his fingers brushing lightly over the leaves of a young plant. He pauses, not to act, but to observe. The sun warms his back, and the air around him carries the faint scent of earth and water. Nearby, another worker repairs a simple tool. A wooden handle has worn smooth with use. A stone edge has dulled slightly. With slow movements, he adjusts and restores it, preparing it for the work ahead. There is a sense of care in every action. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is hurried. The day moves forward. The sun rises higher. Shadows shorten, then slowly begin to lengthen again. The rhythm holds. And beneath the surface of the desert, the chamber remains unchanged. The carved symbols on the walls continue to rest in silence. Their meanings, once understood clearly, now exist without being spoken. They do not need to be read to remain. They simply are. The small figure carved from wood stands in its place, its shape unaltered. The jars remain sealed. The chest remains closed. Everything is as it was. Time passes above in ways that can be seen. Seasons shift. The Nile rises and falls. Crops grow, are harvested, and return again. Children become adults. Adults grow older. And then, quietly, they are gone. But below, in the still chamber, time does not move in the same way. It does not mark itself with change. It does not leave visible signs. It rests. In the afternoon, the light begins to soften again. The heat of the day fades slowly, and a gentle coolness returns to the air. The workers begin to step away from their tasks, their movements unhurried. A group walks back toward the village, their silhouettes long against the sand. Their voices are low, blending into the quiet of the evening. The river reflects the changing sky. Soft tones of gold and pale blue stretch across its surface. The reeds along its edge move slightly as the breeze returns. Everything slows. Everything settles. As night approaches, the land returns to its quiet state. The sky darkens. The first stars appear again. The village grows still. And once more, the desert holds its silence. Beneath that silence, beneath the shifting surface of the sand, the hidden chamber remains. It does not call attention to itself. It does not reveal what it holds. It simply exists, in a quiet and unbroken state. The treasures within it are not aware of time passing above. They do not know the changes of the seasons. They do not feel the movement of years. They remain in the moment they were placed. And that moment continues, gently, without end. The land above continues its slow patterns. The river flows. The fields grow. The people live their quiet lives. And the desert, in its patient way, keeps its secrets. Not out of intention. Not out of force. But simply by being what it is. Wide. Still. Endless. And as the night deepens once again, the stars settle into their places, and the cool air rests over the land. Everything becomes quiet. Everything becomes calm. And the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain, just as they have always been, resting softly beneath the sand. The night lingers a little longer before morning returns. There is a quiet moment, just before the first light appears, when everything feels suspended. The air is cool, the ground still holding the softness of darkness, and the sky rests in a deep, gentle shade. In that moment, nothing moves. Then, slowly, the horizon begins to change. A pale light forms, almost unnoticed at first. It spreads carefully, touching the edges of the land. The shapes of the desert rise again from shadow, and the Nile begins to reflect a faint glow. Another day begins. In the village, life returns in the same quiet way. A man steps outside, pausing as he looks toward the river. He does not speak. He does not need to. The path before him is known. His steps follow it without thought, pressing lightly into the earth. Nearby, a woman arranges small pieces of dough on a flat surface. Her hands move with a steady rhythm, shaping each piece in the same careful way. A small fire burns beside her, its warmth gentle, its light soft. The smell of baking bread begins to rise. It spreads slowly through the air, mixing with the scent of the morning earth. It is a familiar scent, one that returns each day without change. Children move quietly between the homes, their voices low, their steps light. They follow the same paths, tracing the same routes that have been walked many times before. Nothing feels uncertain. Nothing feels rushed. The day unfolds as it always does. Beyond the village, the desert remains unchanged in its quiet appearance. The sand stretches outward, smooth and uninterrupted. Small ridges form where the wind has passed, but they are soft, easily reshaped. The buried structure remains hidden. There is no mark to show where it rests. No sign to draw the eye. Only sand. Only stillness. And beneath it, the chamber remains exactly as it has been. The air inside is unmoving. The silence is complete. The treasures rest without awareness, without motion, without change. But above, something else begins to shift. Not in a way that can be seen in a single day. Not in a way that draws attention. But slowly, gently, over time. The people who remember begin to grow fewer. Those who once helped build the structure, who carried the stones, who placed the objects inside, they are no longer present in the same way. Their voices are no longer heard in the village. Their knowledge does not disappear all at once. It softens. It passes quietly from one person to another, and then to fewer still. Details become less clear. The exact place becomes uncertain. The memory becomes lighter. Like a footprint in sand that slowly loses its shape. A young worker walks near the edge of the desert. He pauses, looking out over the wide, open land. There is nothing unusual to see. Only the same gentle rise and fall of sand. He feels no sense of what lies beneath. no awareness of the chamber below. For him, the desert is simply the desert. Open. Silent. Endless. And so, the memory fades a little more. Back in the village, life continues as it always has. The Nile rises and falls. The fields are planted and harvested. Tools are repaired. Homes are maintained. New children are born. Old stories are told, but not all of them remain complete. Some are shortened. Some are forgotten. Some are no longer spoken at all. The days pass in their steady rhythm. Morning to afternoon. Afternoon to evening. Evening to night. And beneath it all, the chamber remains untouched. The carved symbols on the walls hold their meaning, even if no one above remembers how to read them fully. The objects remain in their places. The small figure stands quietly. The jars remain sealed. The chest remains closed. Nothing has shifted. Nothing has been disturbed. The stillness is complete. As the years continue to pass, the land itself changes in small ways. The river shifts slightly along its banks. The fields expand and contract. The village grows, then settles. Paths change direction. Old ones fade. New ones form. But the desert continues its quiet work. Grain by grain, the sand moves. A small rise becomes a larger one. A shallow dip becomes smooth again. The surface reshapes itself without effort, without sound. And in this slow movement, the last traces of the buried structure disappear completely. There is no longer any sign. No memory held in the land. Only what lies beneath, unchanged. Even the idea of what was placed there begins to fade from human thought. Not suddenly. Not completely. But gently. Like a voice that becomes softer and softer until it can no longer be heard. And yet, the treasures do not need to be remembered to exist. They remain as they were. Held within the earth. Protected by time. Preserved by stillness. The sun moves across the sky once more. The day warms. The light softens. Evening returns. The same quiet patterns repeat. A man sits outside his home, watching the last light fade. He does not think of what has been lost. He does not feel that anything is missing. For him, everything is as it should be. The river flows. The land provides. The sky returns to darkness. The stars appear again. And the night settles gently over everything. Beneath the surface, in the quiet chamber, nothing changes. The treasures remain. Not waiting. Not forgotten. Simply present. Held in a moment that does not pass. And as the world above continues its slow and steady rhythm, the memory of those treasures fades softly into silence, leaving only the calm, endless stillness of the land. The night rests gently over the land once more. The stars are steady, scattered across the wide sky, their light soft and distant. The air is cool, carrying no urgency, no sharp movement. The desert lies quiet beneath them, its surface smooth and undisturbed. There is no sign of what rests below. Only sand. Only stillness. And a silence that feels deep and complete. As the hours pass, the darkness begins to soften. The first pale light of morning slowly returns, touching the horizon in a thin, quiet line. It spreads gradually, revealing the shapes of the land again. The dunes rise gently. The river reflects the growing light. The village begins to wake. A door opens with a soft sound. A figure steps outside, pausing for a moment, as if listening to the calm of the morning. There is nothing unusual to hear. Only the faint movement of air, the distant sound of water, the quiet presence of a new day. The rhythm begins again. Water is drawn from the Nile. Hands move through grain. Bread is prepared. The same simple actions return, unchanged. A man walks along a narrow path, his steps steady. The ground beneath him feels familiar. He does not look far ahead. He does not look behind. His movement is quiet, guided by habit, by memory that does not need to be spoken. Nearby, a child follows, stepping carefully in the same marks left in the dust. Each step is placed with care, as if repeating something already known. The village continues in this way. Soft. Steady. Unbroken. Beyond it, the desert remains wide and silent. There are no markers. No edges that reveal what lies beneath. The buried chamber rests in its place, held gently within the earth. Inside, the stillness remains complete. The air has not shifted. The objects have not moved. The carved symbols rest in their quiet lines, untouched by time as it is known above. The wooden chest remains closed. The jars remain sealed. The small carved figure stands as it always has, its presence calm and unchanged. A thin layer of dust rests across every surface, soft and even. It has gathered slowly, over many passing years, settling without disturbance. There is no sense of absence here. No sense of waiting. Only presence. Only stillness. Above, the world continues its quiet changes. The river follows its path. The fields grow and are harvested. The people live their lives in gentle repetition. Generations pass without sharp transitions. The shift from one to another is soft, like the fading of light at the end of the day. Voices change. Faces change. But the rhythm remains. The knowledge of what lies beneath has now faded completely. It is no longer spoken. No longer remembered. The desert holds its surface without revealing what it protects. And so, the treasures remain truly lost not through force, but through the quiet passage of time. A warm afternoon settles over the land. The sun moves slowly across the sky, casting light that feels soft rather than harsh. Shadows stretch gently across the ground. A farmer rests near the edge of a field, sitting in the shade of a simple structure made from reeds and wood. He closes his eyes for a moment, listening to the faint movement of the wind through the plants. There is no urgency in his rest. No sense that something is unfinished. The day continues as it should. In the distance, a small group walks along the riverbank. Their voices are low, their movements unhurried. The water beside them flows in the same steady way, reflecting the sky above. Everything feels balanced. Everything feels complete. And beneath it all, the chamber remains. Hidden. Silent. Unchanged. The treasures inside do not know that they are lost. They do not know that time has passed above them. They do not feel the movement of years. They remain exactly as they were in the moment they were placed. That moment stretches endlessly. Held in quiet. Held in stillness. As the day fades once more, the light softens. The air cools. The village begins to grow quiet again. Doors close. Fires dim. Voices fade. The sky darkens slowly, returning to the deep, calm shade of night. The stars appear again, one by one. The desert rests beneath them, wide and silent. There is no change in its surface that reveals what lies below. No sound that rises from the hidden chamber. Only the steady presence of the land. And within it, the silent keeping of all that was placed there long ago. Time continues. But here, in this place, it feels as though it has gently come to rest. The treasures remain. Not as something waiting to be found. Not as something calling to the world above. But simply as something that is. Quiet. Still. Unmoving. And as the night deepens once again, everything settles into the same calm, endless silence that has always been there, holding the lost treasures of ancient Egypt in its quiet care. The desert holds its stillness through the night. There is no sound of movement across the sand, no sudden shift, no sharp edge to the quiet. The air rests lightly over the land, cool and soft, as the stars continue their slow passage across the sky. Each star remains in its place, steady and distant. Nothing feels close. Nothing feels urgent. Below, beneath the smooth surface of the desert, the earth holds its quiet weight. Layer upon layer of sand has settled over time, each grain resting against another. The surface above may seem light, easily shaped by the wind, but beneath it, there is a gentle firmness. A quiet pressure. A soft, steady holding. And within that hold, the hidden chamber remains. Unchanged. Undisturbed. The walls stand firm, their surfaces smooth and cool. The carved markings remain clear, their lines resting in silence. The air within does not stir. There is no breeze here. No sound. Only a deep and steady calm. The treasures remain as they were placed. The wooden chest rests against the wall, its surface now covered in a thin, even layer of dust. The jars stand in their quiet row, sealed and unmoving. The small carved figure remains upright, its simple form unchanged. Nothing shifts. Nothing fades. Time passes, but it does not enter in the same way. Above, the night slowly gives way to morning once again. The sky lightens in soft tones, and the desert begins to take shape in the growing light. The dunes rise gently, their curves smooth and continuous. A faint wind moves across the surface. It does not rush. It does not disturb. It simply passes, carrying a few grains of sand with it, reshaping the land in the smallest of ways. A shallow ridge becomes softer. A small dip becomes smooth again. There is no sudden change. Only gradual movement. The buried structure remains hidden beneath this shifting surface. The sand above it settles more deeply, pressing gently down. Not with force, but with quiet consistency. The earth holds what has been given to it. In the village, the day begins once more. A woman steps outside, carrying a small jar. She walks toward the river, her pace even and unhurried. The ground beneath her feet feels familiar, shaped by many steps over many years. She kneels by the water, dipping the jar slowly, allowing it to fill. The surface of the Nile ripples softly, then returns to stillness. She lifts the jar and begins the walk back. Nothing feels different. Nothing feels changed. The rhythm continues. Nearby, a man prepares a simple tool. He sits on a low surface, adjusting the handle of a wooden implement. His hands move slowly, carefully, ensuring that each part is secure. There is no rush in his work. Only attention. Only care. The village lives in this way, steady and calm. The knowledge of the buried chamber no longer exists in their thoughts. It has passed completely beyond memory, leaving no trace in their daily lives. And yet, beneath them, the chamber remains. Held by the earth. Protected by the quiet weight of the sand. Inside, the stillness is complete. The air has not changed. The objects have not moved. The dust has settled gently, layer upon layer, so fine that it feels like a soft covering rather than something separate. The carved lines on the walls remain clear. The shapes of the jars remain steady. The chest remains closed. Everything is exactly as it was. Time continues its slow passage above. The sun rises, moves, and sets. The Nile flows without interruption. The seasons shift in their gentle cycle. But below, in the hidden space, there is only stillness. No measure of time. No sign of change. Only presence. As the day moves toward afternoon, the light grows warmer. Shadows stretch across the land. The desert reflects the soft glow of the sun, its surface appearing almost golden in tone. A group of travelers moves along the edge of the distant horizon. Their figures are small, their movement slow. They follow a path that is known to them, though it is not marked clearly on the land. Their journey is quiet, unhurried. They pass without noticing what lies beneath the sand. They do not stop. They do not look down. The land reveals only what is on its surface. And so, the chamber remains unseen. As evening approaches, the air begins to cool again. The village returns to its quiet state. Fires are lit softly. Food is prepared. Voices remain low. The sky shifts from light to shadow once more. And as night settles over the land, the same calm returns. The same stillness. The same quiet presence that has always been there. Beneath it all, the earth continues to hold its gentle weight. Not heavy. Not pressing with force. But steady. Constant. Unchanging. And within that steady hold, the lost treasures remain. They do not call out. They do not change. They do not fade. They simply rest. Held in a moment that does not move. Held in a silence that does not break. And as the stars return once more to the wide, open sky, everything settles again into that deep and endless calm, where the treasures of ancient Egypt remain quietly beneath the sand, carried softly by the gentle weight of the earth. The night remains soft and steady. There is no sudden movement across the sky, no sharp wind across the land. The stars rest in their distant places, and the desert stretches beneath them in complete stillness. Time passes here without sound. Without effort. Without notice. As the hours move forward, the darkness begins to ease. A faint light forms once more along the horizon, spreading slowly, touching the edges of the dunes, the quiet line of the river, the resting village. Morning returns again. Just as it always has. Just as it always will. The air carries a gentle coolness as the first light settles over the land. The sand reflects a soft glow, and the Nile begins to shimmer faintly. The village wakes in its familiar rhythm. A door opens quietly. Footsteps follow. Hands reach for the same tools, the same jars, the same woven baskets that have been used for so many years. Nothing feels different. Nothing feels new. And yet, everything continues. A woman kneels near a low stone surface, preparing grain. Her movements are slow and steady, her hands working in a rhythm that does not change. The sound is soft, almost blending into the silence around her. Nearby, a man walks toward the river, carrying a simple container. His steps follow a path that has been shaped by many others before him. There is no need to think about the direction. The path remembers. The ground remembers. And so, the day unfolds. Beyond the village, the desert remains wide and quiet. The sand stretches outward, smooth and uninterrupted. Small changes appear over time, but they are so gentle that they feel almost like no change at all. A ridge softens. A surface smooths. The wind moves lightly across the land, carrying grains of sand that settle again in new places. Beneath this shifting surface, the hidden chamber remains. The earth continues to hold it carefully. The weight above presses softly, not enough to disturb, only enough to keep everything in place. Inside, the stillness is complete. The air remains cool and unmoving. The walls stand as they were shaped. The carved symbols rest in their quiet lines, holding their meaning without needing to be seen. The wooden chest remains closed. The jars remain sealed. The small carved figure stands in its place. Nothing has shifted. Nothing has been touched. The dust rests gently over everything, a thin, soft layer that has gathered over many years. It does not cover. It only settles. Time continues above, marked by the movement of the sun. Morning becomes afternoon. Afternoon becomes evening. The light changes slowly, casting soft shadows that stretch and then fade. The Nile flows in its steady way, reflecting the sky, carrying small ripples that move without urgency. A fisherman stands at the edge of the water, holding a net. He waits quietly, watching the surface. There is no rush in his actions, no need for quick movement. The river gives in its own time. And he understands this. Children walk along the bank, their steps light, their voices low. They follow each other, tracing the same narrow paths that curve along the water's edge. They do not look toward the desert. They do not wonder what lies beneath. For them, the land is exactly as it appears. Open. Simple. Endless. As the day continues, the warmth of the sun spreads gently across the fields. The crops stand in quiet rows, their green leaves moving slightly in the breeze. The farmers move among them, checking, tending, adjusting. Each action is small. Each movement is careful. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is hurried. And beneath it all, the chamber remains untouched. The treasures rest without awareness. They do not know the passing of days. They do not feel the changing of seasons. They remain in the same quiet moment in which they were placed. A moment that does not fade. A moment that does not move. Evening begins to return. The light softens once more. The air cools. The village grows quieter as the day comes to a close. Fires are lit. Food is prepared. Voices remain low, blending into the calm of the evening. The sky shifts from pale to deep. The first stars appear again. And the same stillness returns. The same quiet rhythm that has never broken. The desert rests. The river flows. The village settles. And beneath it all, the hidden chamber remains. Unseen. Unheard. Unchanged. The earth continues to hold it gently, without effort, without force. And the treasures within remain as they have always been. Still. Quiet. At rest. As the night deepens once more, everything returns to that soft and endless calm, where nothing is disturbed, and nothing needs to change, and the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain quietly held beneath the sand, part of a rhythm that never breaks. The night drifts gently toward morning, as it always does. There is no clear moment when darkness becomes light. Instead, the sky slowly softens, its deep tones fading into pale shades that stretch across the horizon. The stars dim one by one, not disappearing all at once, but quietly stepping back. The desert begins to show itself again. At first, only faint outlines appear. Then, slowly, the curves of the take shape, smooth and uninterrupted. The surface seems calm, untouched, though it is always, in some small and patient way, shifting. The Nile reflects the earliest light. Its surface holds a soft glow, like a quiet mirror that never fully rests and never truly changes. Morning returns. In the village, the same gentle rhythm begins again. A man steps outside and pauses, his breath visible for a brief moment in the cool air. He looks toward the horizon, not searching, not expecting anything new, but simply observing what is already there. He begins to walk. The ground beneath his feet feels known. Each step follows the same path, shaped by many others over many years. Nearby, a woman pours water into a shallow bowl. The sound is soft, almost blending into the stillness around her. She works slowly, with no need to hurry, her hands moving in a way that feels steady and certain. The scent of morning rises again. Earth. Water. A faint trace of fire from the night before. Everything is familiar. Everything continues. Beyond the village, the fields near the river show quiet signs of life. The crops stand in their rows, their leaves catching the light. A gentle breeze moves through them, creating a soft, steady motion that feels almost like breathing. Farmers move among them, checking, adjusting, tending. Their movements are small. Their actions are careful. Nothing is done quickly. Nothing is done without thought. The day unfolds in its calm and steady way. And beyond all of this, the desert stretches outward. Wide. Still. Endless. There is nothing on its surface to suggest what lies beneath. No change in color. No shift in shape. Only sand, resting quietly under the growing light. Beneath that surface, the hidden chamber remains. The earth holds it gently, the weight above pressing softly, keeping everything in place. Inside, the stillness is complete. The air does not move. The silence does not break. The carved walls remain as they were, their markings clear and untouched. The small figure stands quietly. The jars remain sealed. The chest remains closed. A thin layer of dust rests over everything, soft and even, like a quiet memory that does not fade. Time continues above. Days pass. Then more days. Then many more. Each one follows the same gentle pattern. Morning light. Midday warmth. Evening calm. Night stillness. The cycle repeats without interruption. In the village, life moves forward in small, quiet ways. A child grows taller. An older voice becomes softer. New hands begin to take on familiar tasks. The rhythm continues, even as those within it slowly change. There is no sharp beginning. No sudden ending. Only a soft passage from one moment to the next. The memory of the hidden chamber no longer exists in any form. It has faded completely, leaving no trace in thought or story. The desert has returned to being only what it appears to be. A wide, open expanse. A place of quiet. A place of stillness. And beneath it, the treasures remain. Not waiting. Not calling. Simply resting. As the sun moves across the sky, its light becomes warmer. Shadows stretch across the sand. The air holds a gentle heat, not overwhelming, but present. A traveler moves slowly along the edge of the horizon. His steps are steady, his direction clear to him, though not marked on the land. He passes over the place where the chamber lies hidden, without pause, without awareness. The earth beneath him remains unchanged. The chamber remains undisturbed. The treasures remain still. Evening begins to return. The light softens once more. The warmth fades. The air becomes cool again. The village settles. Voices lower. Movements slow. The sky darkens gradually, returning to the deep calm of night. The stars appear again, one by one, filling the sky with their quiet presence. The desert rests beneath them. Unmoving. Unbroken. Silent. And beneath it all, the hidden chamber continues to exist in the same quiet state. No movement. No sound. No change. The treasures remain as they were, held in a moment that does not pass. A moment that stretches endlessly, untouched by the flow of time above. And as another night settles gently over the land, everything returns once more to that deep and steady calm, where the days pass softly, endlessly, and the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain quietly at rest beneath the sand. The night rests quietly over the land once more. There is a softness to the darkness, a calm that does not press or weigh heavily, but simply settles over everything like a gentle covering. The stars remain steady above, their light faint but constant. Nothing calls attention. Nothing asks to be noticed. The desert stretches beneath them, wide and undisturbed. Its surface appears smooth, shaped only by the quiet passing of the wind. No lines remain. No marks endure. Only the soft curves of sand, rising and falling without pattern. And beneath it, the earth continues to hold what it was given long ago. The hidden chamber remains. Silent. Still. Unchanged. The air inside is cool and unmoving. It does not carry scent or sound. It does not shift or stir. It simply rests, as it has always rested. The walls stand firm, their carved markings clear and steady. The lines do not fade. The shapes do not break. They remain exactly as they were when first made. The wooden chest remains closed. The jars remain sealed. The small carved figure stands in quiet presence. A thin layer of dust covers every surface, soft and even, settled gently over time. It does not disturb. It does not conceal. It simply rests. Above, the sky begins to lighten once more. The transition from night to morning is slow and gentle. The darkness softens, the horizon brightens, and the shapes of the land return in quiet detail. The dunes take form. The river reflects the growing light. The village begins to stir. A man steps outside his home and pauses, as if listening to the morning. There is nothing unusual to hear, only the familiar sounds that return each day. A faint movement of air. A distant ripple of water. The soft presence of life beginning again. He walks forward, his steps steady and unhurried. Nearby, a woman kneels beside a small fire, adjusting its shape with careful hands. The flame responds quietly, growing a little stronger, then settling again. She places a flat piece of dough nearby. The scent of baking begins to rise. It moves slowly through the air, warm and familiar. The village continues in its calm rhythm. Water is carried. Tools are lifted. Grain is prepared. Each action flows into the next without interruption. There is no need for urgency. No need for change. Beyond the village, the desert remains open and still. The wind moves lightly across its surface, shifting grains of sand in small and patient ways. A ridge softens. A surface smooths. The changes are quiet, almost invisible. And yet, they continue. Beneath this shifting surface, the chamber remains untouched. The weight of the earth above presses gently, holding everything in place. Inside, the stillness endures. There is no passage of time as it is known above. No measure of days. No movement of light. Only a quiet, unchanging presence. The treasures remain exactly as they were. They do not age. They do not shift. They do not fade. They simply remain. Above, the day unfolds once more. The sun rises higher in the sky, its light spreading across the land. The warmth grows gradually, touching the sand, the water, the fields. Farmers move among the crops, their hands steady and careful. They tend to the plants in the same quiet way, repeating the same actions that have been done for many years. A fisherman stands at the river's edge, watching the water with calm attention. He casts his net slowly, allowing it to settle, then waits. There is no rush. Only patience. Only rhythm. Children move through the village, their steps light, their voices soft. They follow paths that feel natural to them, paths that have been shaped over time. They do not look toward the desert. They do not wonder what lies beneath. The land is simply what they see. And nothing more. As the sun begins to lower, the light softens. Shadows stretch across the ground. The air cools gradually. The village returns to its quiet evening state. Fires are lit again. Food is prepared. Voices lower. The sky darkens slowly, returning to the deep calm of night. The stars appear once more. The desert rests beneath them. Still. Silent. Unchanged. And beneath it all, the chamber remains as it has always been. Held within the earth. Protected by stillness. Unseen by the world above. The treasures rest without thought, without awareness, without need. They are not waiting. They are not lost in their own presence. They simply exist. And the stillness that surrounds them does not break. It does not fade. It does not change. As another night settles fully over the land, everything returns once more to that quiet, endless calm, where time moves softly above, and below, in the deep and silent earth, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain in a stillness that endures. The night settles softly over the valley. The air cools, and the warmth of the day slowly fades from the stone walls. The desert beyond the river grows quiet, as if it too is resting after long hours beneath the sun. A faint breeze moves across the sand, brushing gently over the ground, smoothing away small footprints, softening edges. Inside the village, most lamps have been dimmed. A few still glow faintly through open doorways, small pools of golden light in the darkness. Within those homes, families rest on woven mats, their breathing slow and even. The quiet rhythm of sleep fills the rooms. And far beyond the village, in the still and silent tombs, the treasures remain. They rest where they were placed long ago, untouched by the passing of countless days. Gold lies quietly in darkness. Stone statues stand watch without movement. Painted walls hold their colors, though no eyes see them now. These treasures were never meant for the world above. They were meant for a journey beyond sight. And yet, even as they remain hidden, their presence lingers gently in the world of the living. In the early hours before dawn, the river moves softly. Its surface is smooth and dark, reflecting the faint light of distant stars. A small boat drifts along the edge of the water, tied loosely to a wooden post. It rocks almost without sound. The sky begins to change, slowly and quietly. A pale line appears on the horizon, where night begins to give way to morning. The stars fade one by one, not all at once, but gently, as if they are being carried away. Birds begin to stir. A soft flutter of wings. A low call in the distance. The first signs of another day returning to the land. And with that light, the world begins again. The people rise. Not all at once, and not with urgency. One person sits up slowly. Another stretches quietly. A door opens. Someone steps outside and pauses, looking at the sky as it brightens. The river glows softly now. Its surface reflects the growing light, turning from dark gray to pale gold. The reeds along the edge sway gently. The air is fresh and cool. A woman walks toward the water, carrying a clay jar. Her steps are steady, her movements familiar. She has done this many times before. She kneels at the edge of the river, dipping the jar beneath the surface, letting it fill slowly. The sound of water is soft. It flows into the jar with a quiet, steady rhythm. She lifts it carefully, sets it against her hip, and begins the walk back to her home. Nearby, a man prepares his tools. He checks the edge of a blade, running his thumb lightly along its surface. He adjusts the handle of a wooden tool, tightening the binding that holds it together. There is no rush. The day will unfold as it always does. In another part of the village, a child wakes and sits quietly for a moment. The room is dim, lit only by the soft light of early morning. The child listens to distant voices, to the quiet movement of others, to the sound of the river. Then slowly, the child rises and steps outside. The ground is cool beneath bare feet. The air carries the faint scent of damp earth and growing plants. And the sky continues to brighten. Far beyond the village, the tombs remain unchanged. The first light of morning touches the desert hills, but it does not enter the deep chambers carved within them. Inside, there is no morning and no night. There is only stillness. The treasures rest as they always have. A necklace lies across a carved chest, its beads arranged with care. A small statue stands beside it, its surface smooth, its shape steady. Painted scenes stretch across the walls, showing moments that no longer move, yet never fade. These things were placed here with intention. They were arranged with thought, with care, with quiet belief. They were meant to remain. And they do. The stone doors stand firm. The passages remain sealed. The silence continues. Above, the day grows brighter. The sun rises slowly, casting long shadows across the land. The fields begin to warm. The river reflects the light, shimmering gently. The people move through their morning routines. Some walk toward the fields, carrying tools over their shoulders. Others remain near their homes, preparing food, tending to small tasks. A pot is placed over a small fire. Grain is poured into it, mixed with water. The fire burns steadily beneath, its warmth spreading slowly through the clay. The smell of cooking rises into the air. It is simple and familiar. Nearby, someone weaves. Thin strands are drawn together, crossed and tied with care. The pattern grows slowly, row by row. The hands move without hesitation, guided by memory and practice. In another place, someone shapes clay. A lump of earth is pressed and turned, formed into a vessel. Fingers smooth its surface. The shape becomes clear. Each task is small. Each movement is quiet. And together, they form the rhythm of the day. The treasures of the tombs are part of this rhythm, even if they are unseen. They were made by hands like these. They were shaped in places like these. They were once part of daily life. A bowl used for eating becomes an offering. A piece of cloth becomes a wrapping. A tool becomes a symbol. And then, it is carried into the tomb. There, it rests. Time moves forward. The sun climbs higher in the sky. The heat begins to build, slowly at first, then more strongly. The shadows shorten. The air grows still. Work continues. A farmer bends over the soil, pressing seeds into the earth. Another carries water, pouring it carefully along the rows. The plants respond, their leaves lifting slightly, their stems steady. There is patience in this work. The growth is not rushed. It happens quietly, over many days. The same is true of the making of treasures. A single object may take many days to complete. A carving is shaped slowly, each line drawn with care. A piece of metal is heated, cooled, and shaped again and again. A surface is polished until it reflects light softly. Nothing is hurried. Everything is done with attention. And when it is finished, it is not always meant to be seen again. Some treasures are placed directly into the tomb. They are carried through narrow passages, set in place within the quiet chambers. The doors are closed behind them. From that moment on, they remain. Not for display. Not for admiration. But for presence. The day continues. The sun reaches its highest point. The heat is steady now, pressing gently against the land. The people move more slowly. Some rest in the shade, sitting quietly, letting the warmth pass. A child sits near a wall, tracing patterns in the dust. The lines are simple, curved and straight, forming shapes that hold no fixed meaning. The child watches them, then smooths them away, and begins again. Nearby, an older person watches. There is a calm stillness in their posture. They have seen many days like this. They understand the rhythm. They know that each moment passes gently into the next. And in the distance, beyond sight, the tombs remain unchanged. The treasures rest in their quiet places. They do not feel the heat. They do not see the light. They remain as they were left. The afternoon begins to soften. The sun lowers slightly in the sky. The light becomes less intense. The air begins to move again, just a little. Work slows. People begin to return from the fields. Tools are carried back. Water jars are set down. Hands are washed. The sounds of the village shift. Voices become softer. Movements become fewer. The evening approaches. And with it, a sense of quiet return. Inside the tombs, nothing changes. The same stillness holds. The same silence remains. The treasures do not move. They do not fade. They simply are. As the day fades into evening once more, the world above settles again into rest. And the hidden treasures remain, just as they have always been. Quiet. Still. Enduring. And the story continues to flow gently, like the river itself, without end, without hurry, moving softly through time. The evening light fades slowly across the land. The warmth of the sun slips gently away, leaving behind a softer glow that rests on the tops of the fields and along the quiet curve of the river. The sky becomes a calm blend of pale gold and deepening blue, colors that change so gradually they are almost unnoticed. The village begins to grow still again. A few voices linger in the open air, low and unhurried. A final task is completed here and there. A basket is set down. A tool is leaned against a wall. A door is closed halfway, left open just enough for the cool evening air to drift inside. The river continues its quiet movement. It does not change with the hour. It does not hurry. Its surface reflects the fading light, holding it for a moment before it too begins to darken. A small ripple moves across the water, then disappears. Along the riverbank, reeds whisper softly as the breeze passes through them. The sound is light and steady, like a distant breath. In the fields, the earth cools. The warmth that filled it during the day begins to release slowly into the air. The plants stand quietly, their leaves still, their roots settled deep beneath the surface. A bird crosses the sky, its wings moving in slow, even strokes. Then it is gone. And the quiet deepens. Inside one home, a small lamp is lit. The flame flickers gently, casting a soft glow across the walls. Shadows move slowly with the shifting light, stretching and settling without urgency. A simple meal is shared. Grain, prepared earlier in the day, is placed in a clay bowl. Hands move calmly, lifting food, passing it quietly from one to another. There is no rush. No noise beyond the soft sounds of eating. This is a moment of rest. A moment of stillness within the steady flow of days. And somewhere, not far beyond, the presence of the tombs remains. They are unseen from here, hidden within the desert hills. Their entrances are quiet, their paths undisturbed. Sand lies gently across the ground, covering all signs of movement. Within those sealed spaces, the treasures continue to rest. They are not touched by the evening air. They do not see the fading light. But they hold within them the memory of moments like this. The bowl in the tomb was once held in hands like these. The cloth folded beside it was once worn in the warmth of the day. The small carved figure once stood in a place filled with voices and quiet activity. Now, they rest together in silence. The night comes slowly. The last light fades from the sky. The first stars appear, faint at first, then clearer as the darkness deepens. They do not rush into view. They arrive one by one. The village settles into sleep once more. Lamps are dimmed. Doors are closed. The sounds of the day fade gently into stillness. A soft wind moves through the narrow paths between the homes. It carries with it the scent of earth, of water, of distant stone. The air is cool now. Comforting. Quiet. In the distance, the desert stretches wide and silent. The hills that hold the tombs stand as they always have, their shapes steady against the night sky. They do not shift. They do not change. And within them, the treasures remain. A golden object rests upon a stone surface. Its shape is smooth, its form carefully made. It does not shine in the darkness, yet it holds its presence. Beside it, a painted wall continues its silent story. Figures stand in still lines. Scenes unfold without motion. Colors remain, preserved in the quiet air of the chamber. These images were made to endure. They were created with the hope that they would remain as they are. And they have. Time passes gently over them, without effect. The silence is complete. There is no sound within the tomb. No movement. Only the quiet presence of objects placed long ago. Above, the stars continue their slow journey across the sky. The river reflects them faintly, its surface dark and smooth. A small ripple disturbs the reflection, then fades away. The village sleeps. Breathing is slow. Even. A child turns slightly in sleep, then becomes still again. An older figure rests quietly, their hands folded gently. The night holds everything in a soft stillness. And the treasures remain part of the stillness, even in their hidden places. They are not separate from the world above. They are connected by the hands that made them, by the lives that once touched them, by the quiet rhythm of days that continues without end. Morning will come again. The light will return. The river will glow. The people will rise. And the cycle will continue. But for now, there is only the night. Only the calm. Only the quiet. The desert breathes slowly under the stars. The tombs rest within it. And deep inside, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain, just as they were left still, silent, and gently enduring as time flows softly around them. The night lingers a little longer before morning begins. There is a quiet pause in the world, a soft space where nothing moves very much at all. The air feels still, as if it is resting. The stars remain overhead, steady and distant, holding their places in the dark sky. The river moves as it always does. Its surface is calm, touched only by the lightest motion. It carries no urgency, no change in pace. It flows the same way it did yesterday, and the day before that, and long before any memory. Along its banks, the land waits. The reeds stand quietly, their thin shapes barely shifting. The soil holds the coolness of the night. Small stones rest where they have been for many seasons, undisturbed. Then, slowly, almost without notice, the sky begins to change again. A faint light appears at the edge of the horizon. It is soft and pale, like a distant breath of brightness. It grows little by little, spreading gently across the sky. The stars begin to fade. Not all at once, but gradually, one by one, until only a few remain, and then none. The world begins to wake. A bird stirs first. Its wings flutter softly, a small movement in the quiet air. It lets out a low call, not loud, but enough to break the stillness. Another bird answers, from somewhere farther away. And just like that, the silence begins to shift into something new. The river reflects the growing light. Its surface changes from deep shadow to soft gray, then to a faint gold. The water continues to move, unchanged, yet it seems different as the light returns. In the village, a door opens. A figure steps outside, pausing for a moment. The air is cool against the skin. The ground is firm and quiet beneath bare feet. The person looks toward the river, toward the slowly brightening sky. There is no rush. Only the beginning of another day. Inside the homes, others begin to wake. A soft movement here. A quiet stretch there. The gentle sound of someone rising from rest. The rhythm returns. Familiar. Steady. A woman lifts a clay jar and walks toward the river. Her steps are measured and calm. She has walked this path many times. The ground beneath her feet holds the memory of those steps. At the water's edge, she kneels. She lowers the jar slowly, allowing the river to fill it. The sound is soft, a gentle pouring that blends with the quiet of the morning. She lifts it carefully and turns back toward the village. Nearby, a man gathers tools. He checks each one with care. A blade is examined. A wooden handle is adjusted. A cord is tightened. These small actions are part of the day's beginning. They are simple, but they matter. They prepare the hands for work. And the work itself will be done with the same quiet attention. Far beyond, within the desert hills, the tombs remain unchanged. The light of morning touches the surface of the stone outside, but it does not reach inside. The entrances remain closed, the path still. Within the chambers, the treasures rest. They do not know the difference between night and day. They do not feel the passing of hours. They remain exactly as they were placed. A small box sits upon a stone ledge. Its lid is closed, its surface smooth. Inside, there may be objects carefully arranged, perhaps beads, perhaps small tools, perhaps something that once held meaning in daily life. Now, it holds stillness. Nearby, a painted figure stands on a wall. Its outline is clear, its colors soft but present. It does not move. It does not fade. It remains. These treasures were never meant to return to the world above. They were placed here with quiet intention. And so they stay. Back in the village, the morning continues. The sun rises higher, bringing warmth with it. The cool air begins to soften. The ground slowly releases the chill of the night. People move through their routines. Some walk toward the fields, carrying tools across their shoulders. Others remain near their homes, tending to small tasks. A fire is lit. A small flame grows beneath a clay pot. Grain is added, mixed with water. The scent begins to rise gently into the air. It is a simple smell. Familiar. Comforting. Nearby, someone begins to weave. Thin strands are drawn together, crossing in a steady pattern. The hands move without hesitation. The shape forms slowly, row by row. Each movement is quiet. Each action is part of something larger. The rhythm of life continues. And within that rhythm, the idea of treasures remains. Not as something distant or separate, but as something connected. The objects in the tombs were once part of these same movements. They were shaped in hands like these. They were used in places like these. A bowl for food becomes a sacred offering. A piece of cloth becomes a careful wrapping. A tool becomes something more than its use. And then, it is carried into the quiet of the tomb. There, it rests. The day moves forward. The sun climbs. The light grows stronger. Shadows shorten. The work continues. A farmer bends over the soil, pressing seeds gently into the earth. Another carries water, pouring it slowly along the rows. The plants receive it. They do not hurry. They grow in their own time. The same quiet patience can be felt in the making of treasures. A carving is shaped over many days. A surface is smoothed again and again. A piece of metal is worked carefully, heated and cooled, formed and refined. Nothing is rushed. Everything is done with care. And when it is finished, it may be seen only for a short time. Then, it is placed within the tomb. And the door is closed. The silence returns. The treasures remain. The afternoon begins to soften once more. The light changes. The air moves gently. The cycle continues. And as it does, the hidden treasures of ancient Egypt remain where they were left, quiet, still, and part of a story that flows softly, like the river, without end. The afternoon light stretches gently across the land. It is no longer sharp or bright, but softer now, resting quietly on the surface of the earth. The fields glow with a warm tone, and the river reflects a calm, steady shimmer that moves with the current. There is no sudden change. Only a gradual easing of the day. The people move more slowly. The work that filled the morning begins to settle into smaller tasks. A tool is lifted and then set down. A final row is watered. A bundle is gathered and tied. The air feels different now. Less heavy. More open. A soft breeze passes through the fields, brushing against the leaves of the plants. They shift slightly, then return to stillness. The rhythm of the day continues, but with a quieter tone. Near the edge of the village, a man sits beneath a simple shelter. He holds a small object in his hands, a piece of stone, partly shaped. His fingers move slowly, smoothing its surface, refining its edges. Each motion is careful. Each movement leaves a small mark. The shape begins to emerge more clearly. It may become a figure, or a symbol, or something meant to rest beside another object in a quiet place. He does not hurry. There is time. There is always time for careful work. Nearby, a woman arranges woven cloth. She folds each piece with attention, smoothing it with her hands. The fabric holds the warmth of the day. Its texture is soft but strong. Some of these pieces will be used. Others may be set aside. And some, perhaps, will one day be placed in a tomb, folded just as carefully, left in stillness for all the time that follows. A child walks slowly along a narrow path. The ground is warm beneath their feet. Small stones press lightly against the skin, but there is no discomfort. The child looks down, watching each step, noticing the patterns in the dust. There is no destination. Only movement. Only presence in the moment. In the distance, the desert hills remain steady. Their shapes do not change. Their silence is constant. And within them, the tombs hold their quiet spaces. Inside, the treasures remain exactly as they were left. A golden ornament lies on a flat surface. Its edges are smooth, its form carefully made. It does not shine in the darkness, but it holds its quiet presence. Beside it, a carved box rests closed. Its contents are hidden, just as the entire chamber is hidden. Nothing is disturbed. Nothing is altered. Time moves, but not here. Or at least, not in a way that can be felt. The air inside the tomb is still. There is no breeze. No sound. Only the quiet existence of objects placed with care. These treasures were part of lives once lived in the light. They were touched by hands, seen by eyes, carried from place to place. Now, they are still. And yet, they are not forgotten. Not completely. Because the rhythm that created them continues above. The same careful hands still shape clay. The same steady movements still weave cloth. The same quiet attention still forms objects meant to last. The connection remains, even if unseen. Back in the village, the afternoon begins to lean toward evening. The sun lowers slightly, and the light grows softer still. Shadows lengthen across the ground, stretching gently between the homes and along the paths. A group of people returns from the fields. Their steps are slow, their movements calm. Tools are carried without strain. There is no urgency to reach the end of the day. They arrive quietly. A jar is set down. A tool is leaned against a wall. Hands are washed with cool water drawn from the river. The feeling of the water is gentle. Refreshing. Simple. A small fire is prepared once more. The flame rises slowly, steady and contained. A clay pot is placed above it, and the process begins again. Grain. Water. Heat. The same elements, the same method. The scent begins to fill the air again, soft and familiar. Evening approaches. The sky begins its slow change. The blue deepens. The gold fades. A calm stillness spreads across the land. And through it all, the presence of the hidden treasures remains. They do not change with the hour. They do not follow the cycle of day and night. They remain in their own quiet time. A painted wall continues to hold its images. Figures stand in silent lines. Scenes remain still. Colors endure. These images were created with patience. Each line drawn with care. each color placed with intention. They were meant to last. And they have. The tomb holds them gently, protecting them from light, from air, from movement. They rest. As the sun dips lower, the first signs of night begin to return. A bird calls once, then falls silent. The breeze softens. The air cools. The village prepares once more for rest. And as it does, the story continues quietly, steadily flowing through time like the river, carrying with it the memory of hands, of lives, and of treasures that remain, hidden and still, beneath the calm surface of the world. The evening settles gently, like a soft cloth laid over the land. The last light of the sun fades slowly, leaving behind a quiet glow that lingers for a short while before giving way to night. The sky deepens into a calm blue, then into a darker shade, where the first stars begin to appear once more. They come quietly. One, then another. No sudden change, only a gradual return of the night. The village grows still again. The small sounds of the day fade into silence. A final voice drifts through the air, then disappears. A door closes softly. A lamp flickers behind a narrow opening, its light warm but gentle. Inside, people prepare for rest. They move slowly, without urgency. A mat is adjusted. A cloth is folded. A small jar is placed near a wall. Each action is simple. Each movement is calm. The air has cooled. It carries a softness now, a quiet comfort that replaces the warmth of the day. The scent of earth and water lingers faintly, blending with the stillness. Near the river, the surface reflects the growing darkness. The soft glow of the sky is mirrored in the water, broken only by small ripples that move without sound. The reeds along the edge whisper faintly as the night breeze passes through them. A small boat rests near the shore. It shifts slightly with the movement of the water, rocking gently, almost as if it too is settling into rest. The land beyond the river stretches into shadow. The desert holds its silence. The hills remain steady. And within those hills, the tombs rest as they always have. Their entrances are hidden. Their paths are sealed. No light reaches the chambers inside. No sound disturbs the stillness. Within those quiet spaces, the treasures remain. A delicate piece of jewelry lies where it was placed long ago. Its form is precise, its design thoughtful. It was made by careful hands, shaped with patience, perhaps worn once, perhaps admired briefly. Now, it rests. Nearby, a small figure carved from stone stands quietly. Its shape is simple, but it holds a presence. It was created to represent something meaningful, something that would endure. And it has endured. The walls around it hold painted scenes. Figures walk in still lines. Hands are raised in silent gestures. Animals stand frozen in gentle motion. These images do not change. They remain as they were first made. Time does not touch them in the way it touches the world above. There is no fading light here. No passing shadow. Only the constant stillness of the chamber. Above, the stars fill the sky. They are clear and steady, spread across the darkness in quiet patterns. They do not move quickly. Their paths are slow, almost unnoticeable. The river reflects them faintly. Small points of light shimmer on its surface, then drift away with the current. The village sleeps. Breathing is slow. Even. A child turns gently, then becomes still again. An elder rests quietly, hands folded, face calm. The night holds everything in a soft embrace. And beneath it all, the hidden treasures remain. They are part of the stillness. part of this quiet. Even though they are unseen, they are not separate. They belong to the same rhythm. The same slow passage of time. Morning will come again. The sky will lighten. The river will glow. The people will rise. And the day will begin once more. But within the tombs, nothing will change. The treasures will remain. Silent. Steady. Enduring. As the night deepens, the air grows cooler still. The breeze softens. The sounds fade completely. There is only quiet now. Only rest. And the story continues, not with movement or sound, but with presence soft, constant, and unbroken, like the gentle flow of time itself. The night stretches on, calm and unbroken. There is a deep stillness now, one that feels settled and complete. The air has cooled fully, and the warmth of the day is only a faint memory held within the stones and the earth. The stars remain overhead. They shine softly, steady and distant, each one holding its place in the wide, open sky. Their light is gentle, not enough to disturb the darkness, only enough to give it shape. The river moves quietly beneath them. Its surface is dark, smooth, and slow. The reflections of the stars shimmer faintly, stretching and bending with the current. Now and then, a small ripple forms and fades, leaving no trace behind. Along the banks, the reeds stand almost still. The breeze has softened to nearly nothing. Only the slightest movement passes through them, a quiet whisper that comes and goes without urgency. The village sleeps deeply. Inside the homes, the rhythm of breathing fills the quiet spaces. There are no voices now, no movement beyond the small, natural shifts of rest. A hand turns slightly. A shoulder rises and falls. Then stillness again. The lamps have long since dimmed. Only faint traces of their glow remain, barely visible through narrow openings. Most of the light has faded completely, leaving the interiors calm and dark. Outside, the paths between the homes are empty. The ground holds the memory of footsteps from earlier in the day, but now it is undisturbed. The dust has settled. The air is clear. In the distance, the desert remains silent. The wide stretch of sand lies beneath the sky, unchanged, unmoving. The hills that rise from it stand firm, their shapes softened by the darkness. And within those hills, the tombs continue their quiet watch. They are closed and still. No wind reaches inside. No sound enters. Within the chambers, the treasures remain exactly as they were left. A smooth stone surface holds a collection of objects placed with care. A small vessel sits beside a folded piece of cloth. A carved figure rests near the edge of the space. Each item is arranged thoughtfully. Each one has its place. They do not shift. They do not fade. They remain. The walls around them hold their painted scenes. The colors, though unseen in the darkness, are still present. The lines remain clear. The figures stand as they always have. These images were made to last. They were created with patience and quiet skill. And they have endured. Time passes outside the tomb. The stars move slowly across the sky. The river continues its gentle flow. The village rests. But inside, time feels different. It does not move in the same way. It does not bring change. It simply holds. The treasures exist within that stillness. They are not waiting. They are not forgotten. They simply are. As the night begins, very slowly, to shift toward morning once more, there is a subtle change in the air. It is almost too gentle to notice. The darkness softens just slightly. The sky at the far edge begins to lose a small part of its depth. The stars, still present, seem a little less sharp. The world prepares, quietly, for the return of light. The river reflects this change first. Its surface, though still dark, begins to carry a faint hint of gray. The reflections soften. The edges blur slightly. Along the banks, the reeds remain still. The breeze has not yet returned. Everything holds its place. In the village, the first signs of waking are still far away. The people continue to rest. The calm remains complete. And within the tombs, nothing changes at all. The treasures remain untouched by the shifting sky. They do not see the approaching dawn. They do not feel the subtle change in the air. They remain in their quiet, steady presence. A golden ornament rests without light. A carved box remains closed. A painted wall holds its silent story. Each object is part of a moment that has already passed, yet continues to exist. The connection between the world above and the chambers below remains, even in this stillness. The same hands that rest in sleep above once shaped these objects. The same lives that moved through the days above once touched these treasures. That connection does not fade. It continues quietly, like the slow movement of the river. And as the faintest light begins to gather at the edge of the sky, the world prepares once again to begin its gentle cycle. The day will return. The people will rise. The work will continue. But for now, the night holds its final moments. Calm. Quiet. Unbroken. And deep beneath the silent hills, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain, just as they have always been, still, patient, and softly enduring within the endless flow of time. The first light of morning returns once more, soft and gradual. It does not arrive suddenly. It grows slowly at the edge of the sky, a pale glow that spreads gently across the horizon. The darkness begins to lift, not all at once, but in a quiet, steady way. The stars fade. One by one, they become less visible, their light blending into the growing brightness. Soon, they are gone, leaving the sky open and calm. The river reflects the change. Its surface shifts from dark to gray, then to a soft, muted gold. The water continues its steady movement, unchanged in pace, yet touched by the returning light. Along the banks, the reeds begin to stir again. A light breeze moves through them, barely noticeable, but enough to bring a faint whisper back into the air. The land wakes slowly. There is no rush. No sudden sound. Only a gentle return to movement. In the village, a door opens quietly. A figure steps outside and pauses. The cool air meets the warmth of the skin. The ground beneath the feet feels firm, familiar. The person looks toward the river, where the light is growing. There is a moment of stillness. Then a step forward. Inside the homes, others begin to wake. A soft shift of fabric. A quiet breath. A slow rising from rest. The rhythm of the day begins again. It returns in the same way it always does, steady, calm, and without urgency. A clay jar is lifted. A path is walked. The river is reached. Water is gathered. These small actions repeat, day after day. They are simple, yet they carry meaning. They form the shape of life. And within that life, objects are made. Used. Cared for. A pot is shaped from clay. Hands press gently, guiding its form. The surface is smoothed. The edges are refined. It is left to dry. Then to harden. It becomes something that can hold, something that can serve. Nearby, a piece of cloth is woven. Threads cross one another in a steady pattern. The hands move without hesitation, guided by practice and memory. The fabric grows slowly, line by line, row by row. These objects begin as part of daily life. They are useful, necessary. But some of them will become something more. Some will be chosen, set aside, prepared with care, and eventually, placed within the stillness of a tomb. Far beyond the village, the desert hills remain unchanged. Their surfaces are touched by the morning light, warming slowly as the sun rises higher. The entrances to the tombs remain hidden. The paths remain still. Within the chambers, the treasures rest. They do not know the morning. They do not feel the warmth of the sun. They remain in their quiet state, untouched by the changes above. A small vessel sits where it was placed. Its surface is smooth. Its shape is simple. It was once filled with something meaningful. Now, it holds only stillness. Nearby, a piece of jewelry lies carefully arranged. Its form is delicate. Its design thoughtful. It was made with attention, worn perhaps with care. Now, it rests without movement. The walls around them continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures stand in silent lines. Colors remain, preserved within the quiet air. These images tell stories, but they do so without sound. They are steady, unchanging. Above, the day continues to unfold. The sun rises higher. The light grows stronger. The air begins to warm. The village becomes more active. People move through their routines. Tools are gathered. Work begins. A man walks toward the fields. His steps are steady. The ground beneath him is firm. He carries what he needs, nothing more. At the field, he begins his work. He bends slowly. Presses the soil. Moves with care. There is no hurry. Only rhythm. Nearby, another carries water. The jar is held securely. The path is familiar. The motion is repeated many times. Each step is part of the day. Each action is part of the whole. And within this quiet flow of life, the idea of treasures remains. Not as something distant, but as something connected. The objects in the tombs were once part of these same movements. They were shaped in hands like these. They were used in moments like these. They were part of the rhythm. Then, they were placed into stillness. The connection remains. Even if unseen. Even if silent. The day continues. The sun climbs. The shadows shorten. The air warms. The work goes on. And beneath the calm surface of the land, within the quiet chambers of the tombs, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain unchanged, undisturbed, and gently held within the endless, steady passage of time. The morning deepens slowly into the fullness of the day. The light, once soft and pale, grows warmer and more certain. It settles over the land in a quiet way, touching the fields, the river, and the walls of the village homes. Nothing feels rushed. The rhythm continues as it always has. In the fields, the work becomes steady and unbroken. Hands move through the soil with care. Small tools press into the earth, lifting, shaping, guiding. Each motion follows the one before it, forming a pattern that is both simple and complete. The sound of work is soft. A faint brushing of soil. A quiet step. The gentle movement of cloth against skin. There is no loudness here. Only presence. The river flows nearby, constant and calm. Its surface reflects the brightening sky, though it never holds the same image for long. The water carries everything forward, always moving, never pausing. At its edge, a few figures stand. They fill jars, rinse their hands, pause for a moment before returning to their tasks. The coolness of the water offers a small, quiet comfort. Then they turn back. Always returning. Always continuing. In the village, the day unfolds in small, steady actions. A woman kneads grain into a soft mixture. Her hands press and fold, over and over again. The motion is gentle, practiced, and calm. Nearby, cloth is stretched and adjusted. Threads are checked. Edges are smoothed. Each detail matters. Each small effort adds to something lasting. A child sits in the shade, watching. There is no need to move quickly. No need to speak. The moment is enough. Beyond the village, the desert remains unchanged. The hills rise quietly against the sky, their shapes firm and enduring. The sunlight rests upon them, bringing warmth to the surface of the stone. But inside, the tombs remain cool. Still. Silent. Within those chambers, the treasures continue to rest as they always have. A carefully carved figure stands beside a low surface. Its form is simple but precise. It was shaped with intention, each line placed with care. Now, it stands without movement. Nearby, a collection of small objects lies arranged in quiet order. They were placed with meaning, positioned with attention. Nothing was left to chance. Each object belongs where it rests. Each one holds a place in the stillness. The walls surrounding them carry their painted scenes. Figures walk, stand, and gesture in silent repetition. Their colors remain soft but present. Their shapes remain clear. They do not change. They do not fade. They simply remain. Above, the day moves forward. The sun reaches higher. The light becomes stronger, more direct. Shadows grow shorter, drawing close to the feet of those who move across the land. The air warms gently. Not harshly, but steadily. The work continues. A man lifts a tool, pauses, and then lowers it again into the soil. A woman carries a basket, her steps even and unhurried. Another figure shapes clay, turning it slowly, guiding it into form. Each action is part of the same quiet flow. Each movement belongs. There is a kind of stillness within the motion. A calm that does not break, even as the hands remain active. And within this calm, the idea of treasures feels close. Not distant. Not separate. The objects resting in the tombs were once part of this same rhythm. They were held in hands like these. They were shaped in moments like these. They were used, seen, and known. Then, they were placed into silence. And there, they remain. The connection between the living world and the hidden chambers is gentle but steady. It does not need to be seen. It does not need to be spoken. It simply exists. The day begins, slowly, to shift once more. The light softens just slightly. The air changes in a way that is almost too subtle to notice. The morning is passing. The afternoon is beginning to approach. And as the cycle continues, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain where they have always been, quiet, unmoving, and softly held within the calm and endless rhythm of time. The afternoon arrives quietly, without announcement. The light shifts in a slow and gentle way, becoming softer at the edges. The sun remains high, but it no longer feels as sharp as it did at midday. The land seems to settle into a calmer tone, as if everything is resting within the warmth. Across the fields, the work continues in smaller, slower motions. The strongest part of the day has passed, and now the rhythm feels more measured. A hand pauses a little longer between movements. A breath is taken more fully. The body adjusts to the steady heat that remains in the air. Nothing stops. But everything softens. The river reflects this change. Its surface is calm, carrying the light in long, quiet stretches. Small ripples move across it, but they are gentle, almost invisible unless looked at closely. At the river's edge, a figure sits for a moment in the shade. Not speaking. Not rushing. Just resting. The sound of water nearby is steady and low, blending with the faint movement of wind through the reeds. In the village, the pace of life becomes even more unhurried. A pot is lifted from the fire and set aside to cool. Cloth is folded carefully and placed in a neat stack. A tool is cleaned, its surface wiped slowly, as if to preserve it for the next use. Each action is small. Each action is complete in itself. There is no need for more than what is done. Children move through the narrow paths between homes. Their steps are slower now, affected by the warmth of the day. They pause often, watching small things: a shadow moving across the ground, a piece of cloth fluttering slightly, the slow movement of dust in the air. Everything feels simple. Everything feels present. Beyond the village, the desert remains wide and still. The dunes hold their quiet shapes beneath the light, unchanged except for the smallest shifts made by the wind. And beneath them, deep within the earth, the tombs remain untouched. Inside, the air is still. There is no heat here. No movement of wind. Only the steady presence of stone and silence. The treasures remain as they were placed. A necklace rests against a smooth surface. Its beads are arranged carefully, their shapes intact, their colors still present even in the absence of light. Nearby, a small vessel sits undisturbed. Its surface is simple, its form balanced. It was once part of daily use, once held in hands that moved through the world above. Now, it rests in stillness. The carved figures remain in their positions. Their shapes do not shift. Their purpose does not change. They stand within the quiet chamber as if time has paused around them. And in a way, it has. Above, the afternoon continues its slow passage. The sun begins its gradual descent, though it is still far from the horizon. The light shifts slightly, becoming warmer, more golden in tone. Shadows lengthen just a little, stretching across the ground. The air begins to soften again. The village prepares for the later part of the day without urgency. A few final tasks are completed in the fields. Tools are gathered and carried back. Water jars are refilled. There is a sense of quiet completion in the movements. Not an end, but a gentle transition. Inside a home, a simple meal is prepared again. The smell of grain and heat rises softly into the air. It is familiar. Comforting. A reminder of the steady cycle that holds each day together. And as this cycle continues, the thought of the hidden tombs remains distant, almost like a memory that belongs to another time entirely. Yet they are still there. Still present. Still holding what was once part of life. The same hands that now work in fields, weave cloth, and shape clay are connected to the objects resting below the sand. Not through awareness, but through continuity. Through the quiet passing of time and tradition. The afternoon begins to lean toward evening. The light softens further. The air cools slightly. The world prepares once more for the calm transition into night. And within the hidden chambers, nothing changes. The treasures remain in their silent arrangement. Undisturbed. Unmoving. Held gently within the deep stillness of the earth. As the day continues its slow descent, everything above follows its familiar rhythm. And everything below remains exactly as it has always been, quiet, enduring, and softly suspended in the endless flow of time. The evening begins to arrive in its quiet way. It does not come all at once. It spreads slowly across the land, touching the fields first, then the river, then the edges of the village. The light softens, losing its strong presence, becoming gentle and low. Shadows grow longer. They stretch across the ground, resting between the small paths and open spaces, settling softly as the day begins to close. The air cools little by little. The warmth of the afternoon fades, leaving behind a calm that feels steady and familiar. The wind moves more freely now, carrying a softer touch through the reeds and across the sand. In the village, the rhythm of the day slows. Work comes to its quiet end. A final bundle is carried and set down. A tool is placed carefully in its resting spot. Water is poured into a jar and left to cool. Each action is unhurried, as if the people are moving in step with the fading light itself. There is no need to rush. The day has already given what it had to give. Inside a home, a small fire is lit once more. The flame rises gently, steady and warm, casting soft light across the interior walls. Shadows move slowly in response, stretching and folding with the flicker of the fire. A simple meal is shared again. The sound of quiet movement fills the space. Nothing loud. Nothing abrupt. Just the calm presence of life continuing in its gentle form. Outside, the village begins to settle. Voices grow softer. Movements become fewer. Doors are closed slowly, not with finality, but with ease, as if closing one part of the day and preparing for another. The river reflects the changing sky. The gold of sunset fades into deeper tones, then into the first hints of night. Its surface remains smooth, carrying the colors gently before letting them dissolve. The reeds along the water's edge stand still. The breeze has softened. Even the smallest sounds feel distant now. Beyond the village, the desert stretches outward into silence. Its vast surface holds the last light of the day, then gradually releases it as darkness begins to return. The hills stand quietly. And within them, the tombs remain hidden. Inside the chambers, there is no awareness of evening. No sense of transition. Only stillness. The treasures rest in the same positions they have always held. A carved object sits near a stone surface, its form steady and precise. A small vessel rests beside it, its shape simple and complete. A folded piece of cloth lies nearby, untouched, unchanged. Each item remains exactly as it was placed. Time does not move differently here. It simply does not move at all in the way it does above. The walls around them continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures remain frozen in silent motion. Their shapes are intact. Their colors are preserved. They do not fade into memory. They remain present, though unseen. Above, the sky deepens. The last light disappears from the horizon. Stars begin to appear, one by one, slowly returning to the wide sky. The night arrives gently, without force. The world becomes quieter. The village settles into rest. Inside the homes, people lie down. Breathing slows. The day releases its hold. The calm of sleep begins to spread. Outside, the desert becomes a vast, dark stillness. No movement disturbs its surface. No sound rises from its depths. And beneath it all, within the hidden chambers, the treasures remain. They are not waiting. They are not forgotten. They are simply there. Still. Present. Unchanging. The silence around them is complete, as if the earth itself has chosen to hold them gently, without end. The night continues to deepen. The stars hold their places. The river flows quietly through the darkness. And the story moves forward not with action, but with stillness carried softly through time, like a breath that never fully leaves the world. The night settles deeper now, as if the world has slowly exhaled and chosen to remain in that quiet breath. Everything feels held in place. The sky is wide and dark, filled with stars that do not rush or flicker in urgency, but simply remain steady, like distant points of memory scattered across endless space. The air over the desert is cool. It carries no movement except the faintest shifting of temperature, the kind that passes without sound or attention. The dunes lie still beneath it, shaped by long, patient winds that no longer move at this moment in time. In the village, sleep has become complete. Homes rest in darkness, with only the faint outline of their forms visible against the night. Inside, there is no motion beyond the natural rhythm of breathing. The day has fully released its hold. Everything is quiet. Everything is still. The river continues its slow passage through the land. Even in darkness, it does not stop. It does not change its pace. It moves as it always has, carrying reflections of stars that appear and disappear across its surface. Sometimes the water catches a faint glimmer of light. Then it fades again. The motion is gentle enough to feel like thought rather than movement. Beyond the river, the desert stretches outward, uninterrupted. It holds no visible memory of what lies beneath it. The surface is smooth, shaped by time and wind and quiet accumulation. And yet, beneath that surface, the earth continues its silent holding. The hidden chambers remain sealed. Undisturbed. Unchanged. Inside them, the treasures rest in the same positions they have always known. A carved figure stands quietly near a stone wall, its shape steady, its presence calm. A small vessel sits nearby, its surface smooth, its purpose long complete. A set of objects lies arranged in careful order, as if someone had only just stepped away and would return at any moment. But no one returns. Not because they are lost, but because time has placed them beyond return. Still, nothing in the chamber suggests absence. There is only presence. Only the quiet arrangement of things left with care. The walls continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures remain in their silent gestures. Colors persist in their soft, preserved tones. These images do not grow older. They do not fade in the way the world above understands fading. They simply remain as they were made. And in that remaining, there is a kind of stillness that feels complete. Above, the night continues to deepen. The stars shift slightly across the sky, though so slowly it is almost impossible to notice. The river reflects them in broken, gentle lines. The wind over the desert is nearly gone. Only the faintest movement remains in the air, like a quiet pause between moments. In the village, sleep holds everything together. A child breathes softly and turns slightly, then becomes still again. An elder rests with hands folded, their face calm in the dimness. No sounds break the quiet. No movement disturbs the rest. And beneath all of it, the hidden chambers remain exactly as they have always been. The treasures do not change with the passing hours. They do not shift with the turning of the sky. They exist in a moment that does not move forward or backward. A moment that simply continues. Above, the world may feel like it is sleeping. But below, it feels as if time itself has paused, holding everything gently in place. The earth does not press. It does not release. It simply holds. And within that holding, the treasures of ancient Egypt remain still, quiet, and deeply present in a silence that stretches beyond night, beyond day, beyond anything that can be measured in the world above. The stars continue their slow journey. The river flows without end. The desert remains wide and calm. And everything rests, as if the world has learned, for a moment, how to stay perfectly still. The night continues its quiet passage. There is no shift that can be easily marked, no clear turning point between one moment and the next. Everything flows gently forward, as if time itself has softened its edges. The stars remain above the desert, steady and patient. Their light is faint, but constant, resting across the wide sky like a memory that does not fade. The air is still. Not completely without movement, but close enough that even the smallest breeze feels distant and rare. The land holds its calm without resistance, as if it has long accepted this rhythm. In the village, sleep remains undisturbed. The homes are quiet shapes against the darkness. Inside, there is only rest. No voices, no footsteps, no signs of waking. The day is fully gone now. And the night holds everything in its place. The river continues to move. It does not stop for the silence around it. It does not change its course. It simply flows, as it always has, carrying the reflection of the sky in broken, shifting lines. A faint glimmer appears when starlight touches its surface. Then disappears again as the water moves forward. There is something steady in this motion. Something that feels like it belongs to the same quiet rhythm as the land itself. Beyond the river, the desert lies in complete stillness. Its surface appears unchanged from moment to moment, though beneath that stillness, time has been shaping it in ways too slow to notice. Sand rests upon sand. Layer upon layer, held together by quiet pressure and long passage. And beneath it all, deeper than the surface ever reveals, the hidden chambers remain. They are not disturbed. Not even slightly. Inside, the treasures continue to rest in the same arrangement as always. A carved figure stands near a low surface, its form unchanged, its presence calm. A small vessel sits beside it, its shape simple and complete, as if it has finished its purpose long ago and now exists only in stillness. Nearby, carefully placed objects remain exactly where they were left. There is no sign of disorder. No sign of time passing. Only the quiet order of things arranged with care. The walls around them hold their painted images. Figures remain in place, frozen in silent motion. Scenes continue without movement or sound. Colors remain soft but intact, preserved within the stillness of the chamber. It is as if the world above has no way of reaching here. No wind, no light, no sound can enter fully. Only silence remains. Above, the night deepens once more. The stars continue their slow movement across the sky, though it is almost impossible to notice unless one watches for a very long time. The river reflects them faintly, broken into soft fragments by its gentle current. The desert remains still, vast, and dark. There is no sign of life upon its surface at this hour. Only the memory of heat, held within stone and sand. In the village, sleep is deep and steady. The rhythm of breathing continues in each home, quiet and even. A hand rests loosely beside a sleeping body. A face remains calm in the darkness. Everything is at rest. And beneath it all, the hidden chambers remain exactly as they have always been. They do not respond to the night above. They do not change with the turning of the sky. They exist in a state that feels separate, though still part of the same world. A state of quiet preservation. A stillness that does not end. The treasures are not waiting. They are not fading. They are simply held within the earth, as if the world itself has chosen to remember them without speaking. The night continues. Soft. Endless. Unbroken. And as time moves gently forward above the sand, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain in their deep and silent resting place, untouched by the passing of hours, carried only by the quiet patience of the earth. The night grows even quieter now, as if the world has entered its deepest layer of sleep. There is a stillness that feels almost complete, where even the idea of movement seems distant and unnecessary. The desert lies under the sky like something gently held in place, not by force, but by long familiarity with silence. The stars remain, but they feel farther now. Not in distance, but in presence, as if the sky itself has softened and widened, making everything feel more spread out, more calm. The river continues its slow, steady path. It is the only thing that seems to move without hesitation. Even so, its movement is gentle, almost unnoticeable unless watched closely for a long time. The surface carries faint reflections of light that come and go, never staying long enough to form anything fixed. Everything flows. Everything releases. Everything continues without interruption. In the village, the night is at its deepest point. Homes rest in complete darkness now. Any remaining traces of light have faded long ago. Inside, there is only quiet rest, the kind that holds the body gently without demand. No one speaks. No one moves beyond the smallest, natural shifts of sleep. The world feels paused, but not frozen. Alive, but resting. Beyond the village, the desert stretches in every direction, vast and unchanging. Its surface holds the memory of heat from the day, but that warmth is now hidden beneath the coolness of night. The dunes are soft shapes in the darkness, barely visible, yet present in their steady forms. And beneath them, far below the surface, the earth continues its silent holding. The hidden chambers remain sealed. Not by locks that can be seen, but by layers of stone, sand, and time. Inside, the treasures remain exactly as they have been throughout all these long, quiet passages of night and day. A carved object rests upright against a stone surface, its form steady and precise. A small vessel sits nearby, its shape balanced and complete, as if it has reached the end of all motion and now exists only in stillness. A folded piece of cloth lies nearby, soft in form but unmoving, preserved in the quiet air. Nothing has shifted. Nothing has fallen or changed position. The arrangement remains exactly as it was placed. Around them, the walls continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures remain in silent poses. Stories continue without movement. Colors persist in soft tones, held carefully within the chamber's still air. There is no sound here. No echo. Only presence. Above, the night begins a slow, almost imperceptible shift toward the earliest hint of morning. It is not yet dawn. Not yet light. But something subtle begins to change. The darkness loses a fraction of its depth. The sky at the far edge of the horizon becomes slightly less heavy. The stars remain, but they feel a little less sharp. The river reflects this change without awareness, its surface continuing its steady flow. The desert remains still. No wind moves across it now. Even the smallest disturbances seem to pause, as if waiting. In the village, the sleeping figures remain undisturbed. Breathing continues in its soft rhythm. Everything is held in calm balance. And within the hidden chambers, nothing responds to the shift above. There is no awareness of approaching light. No sense of change in the sky. The treasures remain in their quiet arrangement, untouched by the turning of the world. They exist in a place where time does not press forward in the same way. Where hours do not gather into days. Where moments do not break apart or fade. Only stillness remains. Only the gentle presence of objects placed long ago, held within the earth as if the world itself has chosen to keep them safe in silence. The night continues to soften, just slightly, toward the coming morning. But within the tombs, there is no morning and no night. Only the same deep, unbroken calm. And as the world above slowly prepares to turn once again toward light, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain quietly at rest, held in the endless, patient stillness of time. The first suggestion of dawn begins almost without notice. It is not a sudden arrival, but a gentle easing of darkness at the far edge of the sky, where night begins to loosen its hold. The change is so gradual that it feels less like an event and more like a quiet transition that has always been happening. The stars remain for a while longer. They do not disappear quickly. Instead, their presence grows softer, less defined, as if the sky itself is slowly covering them with light. The desert below remains still. Its wide surface holds the coolness of the night, a quiet calm that has settled deeply into the sand. No wind moves across it now. No visible shift breaks its surface. It is a land that feels suspended between night and morning. The river is the first to reflect the change. Its surface, still flowing as always, begins to carry a faint shift in tone. Dark reflections lighten slightly, becoming less heavy, more open. The water does not change its path. It only receives the sky as it is. In the village, there is the first hint of waking. Not fully yet. Not in movement. But in awareness. A subtle shift in rest, a slight change in breathing, a body preparing to return from sleep without fully leaving it yet. The world is still quiet. But it is no longer as deep in stillness as before. And far beyond this gentle awakening, the desert hills remain unchanged. Within them, the hidden chambers continue their silent existence. There is no awareness of dawn inside. No recognition of the sky above. Only stillness. Only the steady presence of things arranged long ago. A carved surface catches no light, yet remains defined in shape and form. A vessel rests beside it, unchanged in position, its purpose complete but its presence preserved. Nearby, objects lie in quiet order, arranged with care that time has not disturbed. Nothing has shifted overnight. Nothing has fallen or decayed. Everything remains exactly as it was placed. The walls continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures stand in silent motion, frozen in moments that do not progress. Colors remain soft but intact, preserved within the still air of the chamber. There is no sense of passing hours here. No memory of night turning to morning. Only continuity. Only stillness. Above, the sky continues its slow transformation. The darkness thins gradually, like fabric loosening under soft light. The stars fade one by one, not abruptly, but with quiet patience, as though they are stepping backward into the sky itself. The horizon begins to glow faintly. A soft line of light appears, almost imperceptible at first. The river reflects this change, becoming lighter in tone, its surface still flowing in the same steady rhythm. The desert remains silent. But it no longer feels entirely like night. Something is shifting. something gentle and inevitable. In the village, more figures begin to stir. A hand moves slightly beneath a cloth. A body turns slowly. A quiet breath signals the return toward waking. But there is still no urgency. No rush to rise. Only the slow return of awareness, like the world itself remembering how to move again. And within the hidden chambers, nothing responds to this change. The treasures remain in the same positions, untouched by the softening sky above. There is no difference between this moment and any other moment within the tomb. No dawn enters here. No night leaves. Time does not divide itself into beginnings or endings. It simply continues in stillness. A carved figure stands in the same place. A vessel rests beside it. A folded cloth remains undisturbed. Each object exists in a state of quiet permanence. The earth around them holds firm. Not tightly. Not loosely. But gently, as if it has always known how to keep them safe. Above, the horizon brightens further. The first real signs of morning begin to form, though the sun has not yet fully appeared. The world prepares, slowly, to return to motion. The village will soon wake completely. The river will shine more clearly. The desert will warm again under light. But deep beneath it all, within the silent chambers of stone and sand, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain exactly as they have always been. Still. Unchanged. Resting in a quiet that does not end. The morning light grows stronger now, spreading gently across the land. It moves slowly, without force, touching the tops of dunes, the edges of stone, and the surface of the river. The world begins to take shape again, not suddenly, but in a soft return of detail and color. The stars are almost gone. Only the faintest traces remain, fading into the brightness that rises from the horizon. The sky feels open again, wider and clearer, as if it has released the weight of the night. The river reflects this change fully now. Its surface brightens, shifting from soft gray into pale gold. The movement of the water remains steady, unchanged, but the light upon it makes it feel newly present, as if it has returned with the day. Along the banks, the reeds begin to move again. A light breeze passes through them, gentle and familiar. Their thin shapes sway slightly, then settle, then sway again, responding to the returning life of the morning air. The desert remains quiet, but no longer hidden in darkness. Its forms are visible once more. The dunes rise and fall in soft curves, shaped by long patience and older winds. The stone hills stand firm in the distance, holding their silence. And within those hills, the hidden chambers remain untouched. Inside, there is no change at all. No softening of darkness. No arrival of light. Only the same deep, quiet stillness that has always been there. The treasures remain exactly as they were. A carved object stands near a stone surface, its edges smooth, its shape steady, as if time has never approached it. A small vessel rests nearby, its form complete, its presence calm. A folded piece of cloth lies beside them, unchanged, as if gently set down only moments ago, though countless hours have passed above. Nothing has shifted. Nothing has moved. The arrangement remains perfect in its quiet order. The walls around them continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures stand in silent positions, frozen in gestures that never complete. Colors remain soft but intact, preserved in the absence of disturbance. These images do not age. They do not fade with the passing of light outside the chamber. They remain as they were created, held carefully within the stone. Above, the village begins to fully wake. A door opens. Then another. A figure steps outside and pauses, taking in the morning air. The ground is cool beneath bare feet. The air carries a faint freshness, as if the night has left something behind for the day to inherit. Inside the homes, movement begins to grow. Slow at first. Then steady. People rise, stretch, and prepare to begin again. The rhythm of the day returns. A jar is lifted. A path is walked. Water is drawn from the river. A fire is prepared. These actions are simple, familiar, and deeply rooted in repetition. They form the structure of life itself. Beyond the village, the desert remains vast and open. The light reveals its full stillness now. No movement disturbs its surface. Only the gentle shaping of time is visible in its dunes and stones. And beneath that surface, far below the reach of sunlight and air, the tombs remain sealed in their quiet depth. Within them, nothing changes. The treasures do not respond to the waking world above. They do not feel the warmth of the sun, nor the movement of air, nor the shift of morning into day. They remain in their own still condition. A carved figure stands quietly in place. A vessel rests without sound. A collection of carefully placed objects remains arranged in silence. Each one is part of a moment that has long passed in the world above, yet continues here without end. The connection between above and below remains invisible but constant. What was once part of daily life now rests in stillness. What once moved in hands now rests in stone silence. And yet, nothing feels broken. Nothing feels lost. Only held. The day continues to grow brighter. The sun rises higher. The air warms gradually. The village resumes its steady rhythm of work and care. And deep beneath the desert, in chambers untouched by time or light, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain exactly as they have always been, quiet, preserved, and gently enduring within the endless stillness of the earth. The day settles fully into its steady rhythm. The sun now sits higher in the sky, casting a warm and even light across everything it touches. The desert is no longer soft with dawn or deep with night, but fully awake in brightness, its colors clear and open under the wide sky. The river moves through this light without change. It does not hurry. It does not pause. It continues its slow, familiar path, carrying reflections of sky and land in a way that is always shifting, yet always the same. Along its edges, life continues quietly. Water is drawn. Tools are rinsed. Hands are dipped into the cool surface for a brief moment of relief. Each action is small, but part of a larger flow that has no clear beginning or end. In the village, the morning work deepens. People move between tasks with calm attention. The sound of activity remains soft, never rising into noise, but blending into the atmosphere like breath. A pot is shaped and smoothed. A woven surface grows a little longer. A repaired tool is set aside, ready to be used again. Nothing here feels rushed. Everything is part of repetition, part of memory made physical through motion. And beyond the village, the desert remains wide and still. The hills stand in quiet distance, their forms unchanged under the steady light. The surface of the sand shifts only in the smallest ways, shaped by a wind too gentle to notice unless one watches closely. Beneath this surface, the hidden chambers continue their silent existence. There is no difference between this moment and any that came before it inside. No awareness of time passing above. No recognition of light or heat. Only stillness. Only presence. The treasures remain exactly where they were placed. A carved figure rests against a stone surface, its shape steady and complete. A small vessel sits nearby, its form simple, its function long finished. A folded piece of cloth lies undisturbed, soft in shape but firm in its quiet permanence. They do not shift. They do not decay. They do not respond to the world above. Around them, the painted walls continue to hold their scenes. Figures stand in silent composition, gestures frozen in moments that never progress. Colors remain faint but intact, preserved within the calm air of the chamber. There is no wind here. No sound. No change in temperature or light. Only the quiet consistency of stone and stillness. Above, the day continues its slow movement forward. The sun climbs slightly higher, then holds. Shadows remain short and steady beneath objects and figures. The air grows warmer, but not harsh. It settles across the land like something familiar. In the fields, work continues with steady hands. Seeds are checked. Water is guided. Plants are tended with care that feels as natural as breathing. Each motion is part of a cycle that repeats, not in exact repetition, but in familiar shape. And within this cycle, life continues to unfold in quiet layers. Growth. Rest. Movement. Stillness. All existing together in balance. Far below, within the sealed chambers, none of this is felt. The treasures remain unchanged. They are not part of the movement above. Yet they are connected to it through time that once was. Through hands that once shaped them. Through lives that once carried them. That connection does not require presence. It exists in memory, even when memory itself has faded from the world above. The afternoon begins to approach again. The light shifts slightly, growing softer at the edges. The village continues its calm rhythm. The river flows without end. The desert remains vast and unmoving. And beneath it all, in the deep and quiet chambers of stone, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain exactly as they have always been, silent, preserved, and gently held within the endless stillness of time. The afternoon light begins to soften again, as it always does. It does not change quickly. It drifts, slowly and gently, as if the day itself is easing into a quieter tone. The brightness of midday fades into something warmer, something more subdued. Across the land, everything seems to settle a little deeper into its rhythm. The fields are calm now. Work continues, but with slower hands. Movements are measured, unhurried. A pause lingers between actions. The heat of the day is still present, but it no longer presses with the same strength. It feels steady, balanced, familiar. The river reflects this softening light. Its surface carries a golden tone that shifts with each small ripple. Nothing interrupts its flow. It simply continues, carrying the day forward in its own quiet way. Along the banks, the reeds stand still again. The earlier breeze has faded, leaving the air calm and open. The sound of water becomes more noticeable in the absence of wind, though it remains soft, never rising beyond a gentle presence. In the village, the rhythm of life slows slightly. A final round of tasks is completed. Tools are set down. Containers are closed. Surfaces are cleaned and left to rest. Each action marks a small transition, not an end, but a shift toward the later part of the day. Inside shaded spaces, people pause. Some sit quietly, resting from earlier movement. Others remain still for a moment before returning to work. There is no urgency. Only continuity. Beyond the village, the desert holds its wide silence. The dunes remain shaped by long, unseen winds. The stone hills stand unchanged in the distance, their forms steady under the passing light. Nothing in their appearance suggests what lies beneath. And yet, beneath them, the hidden chambers remain as they have always been. Still. Sealed. Unmoving. Inside, there is no afternoon. No change in light or warmth. Only the same quiet presence that has filled the space since the moment the doors were closed. The treasures remain arranged in their silent positions. A carved object rests near a flat surface, its shape precise and undisturbed. A small vessel sits beside it, complete in form, unchanged in purpose. A folded cloth lies nearby, its edges soft, its presence steady. Each object remains exactly where it was placed. Not slightly altered. Not shifted by time. Completely still. Around them, the walls continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures remain frozen in quiet gestures. Colors persist in muted tones, preserved within the chamber's still air. There is no fading here. No breaking of form. Only preservation through silence. Above, the sun begins its gradual descent. The afternoon leans gently toward evening. Light grows softer at the edges, stretching longer across the land. Shadows begin to extend again, slowly reaching across the ground. In the village, people begin to gather what they will need for the closing part of the day. Water jars are refilled. Tools are carried back to their resting places. Small fires are prepared once more. The scent of simple food begins to rise again, faint but steady. Everything moves with calm intention. There is no rush toward night. Only preparation for it. The river continues its constant flow. The desert remains vast and unmoving. And beneath that vastness, in chambers carved deep within the earth, the treasures of ancient Egypt remain exactly as they have always been. They do not respond to the changing light above. They do not follow the passing of hours. They exist in a stillness that does not shift. A stillness that does not weaken. A stillness that simply continues. As the day moves gently toward evening, everything above follows its slow descent into calm. And everything below remains unchanged, quiet, preserved, and softly enduring within the endless patience of time. The evening begins to settle in with a quiet softness. The light no longer feels strong or direct. It becomes gentler, spreading across the land in long, fading layers. The warmth of the day slowly loosens its hold, and the air begins to cool in a way that feels natural and unforced. Across the fields, movement slows even more. Work that was steady through the afternoon now comes to a gentle close. A final pass is made over the soil. A tool is placed carefully on the ground. A container is lifted and carried back without hurry. Everything feels like it is easing into rest, step by step. The river reflects the changing sky. Gold turns to amber, then to soft tones of fading light. The water keeps moving, but its surface feels calmer now, as if it too is preparing for the stillness of night. Along its edges, the reeds barely move. The wind has softened again, becoming almost invisible. The sound of the water becomes the most constant presence in the landscape, steady and uninterrupted. In the village, the final hours of activity are quiet. Small fires are lit. Food is prepared in simple ways. A few voices pass gently through the air, low and calm, without urgency or emphasis. There is a sense of completion, but not an ending. Only transition. Only return. Inside the homes, light begins to gather in small pools. A lamp flickers softly in one space. A fire glows in another. Shadows move slowly across walls, stretching and folding with the gentle movement of flame. People sit or stand in quiet moments. There is little need for speech. The day has already said what it needed to say. Beyond the village, the desert begins to darken again. The sun lowers toward the horizon, leaving behind a fading glow that rests briefly on the edges of dunes and stone before disappearing. The hills grow softer in shape. The land becomes less defined, more open to the coming night. And within those hills, the hidden chambers remain unchanged. Inside, there is no awareness of evening. No sense of the world outside turning toward darkness. Only stillness. Only the steady presence of objects held in silence. The treasures remain exactly as they were placed. A carved figure stands in quiet position, its form unchanged, its presence calm. A small vessel rests beside it, complete and unmoving. A folded piece of cloth lies nearby, its shape undisturbed, as if time has never passed over it. There is no shift in arrangement. No sign of wear or change. Only preservation. The walls continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures remain frozen in silent action. Lines and colors persist, soft but intact, held within the protective quiet of the chamber. There is no fading here. No decay. Only continuity through stillness. Above, the sky deepens. The last light of the sun fades from the horizon. The first stars begin to return, faint and distant at first, then slowly becoming clearer as darkness spreads. The village settles further into evening. Doors close gently. Voices lower. Movement becomes minimal. The rhythm of the day fades into the rhythm of night. The river flows on. The desert rests under the returning darkness. And beneath all of it, in the quiet chambers beneath stone and sand, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain exactly as they have always been. Silent. Unmoving. Held gently in the deep, unbroken stillness of time. As night returns once more, everything above slows into calm, and everything below remains unchanged, quiet, enduring, and softly suspended beyond the reach of passing days. Night returns fully now, settling across the land like a soft and familiar covering. The sky has deepened into a quiet darkness, wide and open, holding the stars in their distant, steady places. They do not feel close or far. They simply exist, scattered gently across the vastness above. The air has cooled again. The warmth of the day has fully left the surface of the land, and in its place is a calm stillness that feels complete. Nothing moves with urgency. Even the wind seems to hesitate, passing only in faint, rare touches. The river continues its endless path. It flows through the darkness without change, carrying faint reflections of starlight that appear briefly and then dissolve. Its movement is steady, almost meditative, as if it has no memory of beginning or end. Along its banks, everything rests. The reeds stand still. The paths are empty. The ground holds the quiet impression of the day that has passed, now softened and settled into the earth. In the village, night has become deep and steady. The homes are dark now, their shapes blending gently into the surrounding night. Inside, there is only rest. Breathing is slow and even. Bodies are still. The day has fully released its hold. No movement remains beyond what sleep allows. Beyond the village, the desert stretches in its vast silence. It is no longer marked by the light of day or the fading colors of evening. It exists now in pure stillness, shaped only by the memory of form beneath the darkness. The dunes are quiet shadows. The hills are steady outlines against the sky. And beneath those hills, the hidden chambers remain as they have always been. Inside, there is no night. No change in temperature or light. No awareness of the world above. Only silence. Only the steady, unbroken presence of things arranged long ago. The treasures remain exactly where they were placed. A carved object rests against a smooth stone surface, its shape unchanged, its edges still precise. A small vessel sits nearby, complete in form, its purpose long finished but its presence preserved. A folded piece of cloth lies beside them, untouched, as if no moment has ever disturbed it. Each object remains in its exact position. Nothing has shifted. Nothing has fallen. Nothing has changed. The walls around them continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures stand in silent gestures, frozen in the memory of movement. Colors remain soft but intact, preserved within the still air of the chamber. There is no passage of time here that can be felt. Only continuity. Only stillness. Above, the stars move slowly across the sky. Their motion is so gradual it almost feels like they are standing still, yet the sky itself continues its quiet turning. The river reflects them in broken lines of light, carrying their image forward as it carries everything else. In the village, sleep is deep and uninterrupted. A hand rests gently against a surface. A face remains calm in the darkness. The rhythm of rest continues without disruption. Everything is held in quiet balance. And beneath it all, within the sealed chambers of stone and earth, the treasures remain unchanged. They do not respond to night or day. They do not follow the passing of time above. They exist in a space where stillness is constant, where silence does not end, and where nothing is required to move forward. The night continues its slow passage. Soft. Endless. Unbroken. And as the world above rests beneath the stars, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain quietly preserved within the deep, patient stillness of the earth, held gently in a moment that never fades. The night feels even deeper now, as if it has settled into its most complete form. Everything above the desert rests under a sky that is vast and still. The stars remain scattered across it, distant and calm, each one holding its place without urgency or change. There is no wind now. Or if there is, it is so light it barely reaches the ground. The desert does not respond. It simply remains as it is, shaped by long time and quiet patience. The river continues its movement. It does not break the silence around it. It does not rush or slow. It flows in the same steady rhythm, carrying faint reflections of light that appear and disappear without holding form. It feels less like motion and more like continuation. A presence that never leaves. In the village, the night is at its most quiet point. There are no visible signs of activity now. The homes rest in complete stillness. Inside, sleep is deep and uninterrupted. The world of the day feels far away, almost as if it belongs to another layer of time entirely. Breathing continues softly. Bodies remain still. The rhythm of rest holds everything gently in place. Beyond the village, the desert stretches into silence. The dunes are faint shapes under the night sky. The hills rise quietly in the distance, unchanged in form or presence. They do not feel distant. They simply feel still. And within those hills, beneath layers of sand and stone, the hidden chambers remain exactly as they have always been. Inside, there is no sense of night. No awareness of the sky above or the stars beyond it. Only a silence that does not shift or weaken. The treasures remain in their exact positions. A carved figure stands quietly against a surface, its shape precise and unmoving. A small vessel rests nearby, complete in form, untouched by any passing force. A folded piece of cloth lies beside it, soft in shape but fixed in place, as if preserved by something deeper than time. Nothing has changed. not in arrangement, not in presence, not in state. The walls surrounding them continue to hold their painted scenes. Figures remain frozen in silent motion, gestures suspended in a moment that never progresses. Colors are still present, faint but steady, held within the stone. There is no fading here. No breaking down. Only preservation within stillness. Above, the stars continue their slow journey across the sky. Their movement is nearly impossible to perceive unless watched over long stretches of time. Yet they shift all the same, marking a passage that feels both real and distant. The river reflects them softly, breaking their light into gentle fragments that drift along its surface. In the village, sleep remains deep. A figure turns slightly, then becomes still again. Another breath rises and falls in slow rhythm. The night holds everything with care, as if it understands the need for rest, for quiet, for pause. And beneath all of this, within the sealed chambers beneath the desert, the treasures remain unchanged. They do not move with the world above. They do not respond to the passing hours. They exist in a condition that feels outside of change itself. A condition of quiet permanence. The night continues without interruption. Soft. Endless. Unbroken. And as the world rests under the wide sky, the lost treasures of ancient Egypt remain held in the deep, patient stillness of the earth, where time does not rush, and nothing is ever required to move. The night remains, and then it slowly begins to loosen its hold. Not suddenly. Not with a clear ending. But in the same gentle way it has always changed, softening at the edges, thinning into something quieter, something lighter. The stars are still there, but they feel distant now, as if they belong more to memory than to darkness. The desert holds its silence one last time. The river continues its steady path, carrying the reflection of fading night toward the first hint of morning. And beneath the vast stillness of sand and stone, the hidden chambers remain unchanged. The treasures do not move. They do not awaken. They do not fade. They simply exist, held within the earth exactly as they have always been, quiet, complete, and undisturbed. Not waiting for discovery. Not asking to be seen. Only resting. Above them, the world continues its endless cycle. Night will become morning again. Morning will become day. And day will become night once more. But within that deep silence beneath the desert, nothing is required to change. Everything is already still. Already whole. Already at rest in a moment that does not end. And so the story does not truly conclude. It only becomes quiet. Like the land itself after the wind has passed. Like water when it finally stops rippling. Like the feeling of time slowly settling into silence. And everything remains. Soft. Unmoving. Endlessly calm.